sort of get started. So I'm going to go ahead and get the engine started. Welcome everybody to the February Board of Directors meeting of Ohio Electric Association. I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order at 9:01. Go ahead and kick this off with the Pledge of Allegiance, if you would. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the agenda. Review and approve. Well, can I get a motion to approve the agenda? Moved by Rachel. Moved and seconded. Any discussion on today's agenda?
I think Tim has it.
Okay, yeah, give it to you, Tim.
Hi, Ted. Thank you. You're going at quite the pace there. The report that I'll give for the Finance and Audit Committee will be verbal because we had the meeting yesterday. And some of it may, if board members want to get into some details, that those details should be provided in an executive session, as some of it is forward-looking, and given that we're in the SPP market or about to enter, we have to be a bit careful of that kind of thing. So I think it would be wise to add maybe space on the executive session agenda for Finance and Audit Committee discussion or presentation if needed.
Okay. Thanks, Tim. Any objections to adding that to the agenda? Okay, we'll consider that item G, the executive session.
Ted, I've got one.
Yeah, go ahead, Kirsten.
I move that we move policy 108 discussion out of executive session into open session.
I will say that my analysis of policy 108 involves attorney-client privilege legal analysis.
Right, are
At
you
this point,
speaking that out loud, or you've already sent it to us?
I have sent it to you, and I will be speaking it out loud. I have my presentation this month I've done in the PowerPoint presentation form, and so that part I'll be presenting. I mean, please feel free to have your deliberations amongst yourselves in public, but my analysis this month.
Thank you for that. I'd like to change my motion then. I'd like to move that we add policy 108 discussion to probably sometime after the executive session, so we can have the actual discussion there after we see.
So it is listed on 7C as possible
Thank you.
action.
You mean I'm supposed to read past the executive session part? Okay. Positive act. Okay, we'll take that. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
I'll check it.
no, that's first. Thank you. 2 seconds. Anybody else? Modifications, concerns on the agenda? Okay, let's.
We need to. Which one? Yeah, that would be, on 7B, Roman numeral 1.
Okay,
That's the one. Yeah, so site construction contract, we won't need that.
okay. So B can disappear.
So, yeah, we can disappear on 7B.
Okay, so removing 7B from the agenda. All right, anything else? Okay, all in favor of the agenda as it now stands, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Looks unanimous. Poll missing. All right, we have an agenda. Let's see, do we have a safety moment this morning?
Yeah.
Yes.
Outline.
Great, thanks, Jerry. Good morning, everybody. Morning.
So look up on the screen. This was yesterday.
Oh.
That was due to distracted driving. It was a 3-vehicle incident right by Natural Grocers on Camino. And they hit a street light. They could not have been doing the speed limit. Don't believe there were any injuries, however. Pulled some statistics, 2023, there were 40,901 motor vehicle fatalities. 3,275 of those were due to distracted driving, which also resulted in 324 and 819 injuries. We cannot control the actions of others out on the road. And when elements come into play, it makes it even worse. In January of last year, Chris helped pass the Bill 24-065, the hands-free law. And we are starting to see a decrease in cell phone related incidents, accidents, but it's going to take a while. We're still seeing quite a few. Halfway through last year, there were 17,000 fatalities already. What can we do? Defensive driving. That's the only thing that we can do to protect ourselves from other drivers. What does that consist of? Follow at safe distances. I find myself tailgating all the time and have to remind myself to back off, you know. It's very easy to become a defensive driver when you drive large trucks like our diggers and buckets. They just don't go fast enough, you know, and they're so big and heavy that you have to get yourself enough distance. But I've been out of those trucks for so long that I've gotten back into the habit of poor driving. Anticipate others' movements, activities. If you're passing somebody, you know, just always be aware that they could come over into your lane. Happens all the time. You look over and they're looking at their phone. Avoid aggressive driving. It's hard to do, especially in this town. 5 o'clock, I'm trying to get North Durango. The best way to get defensive driving into your daily routine is give yourself enough time. Give yourself enough time to get to your destination where you're not in a hurry. And that is by far the best way to never be an aggressive driver. You can give people more space because you don't have anywhere to be anytime soon. So give yourself enough time. And avoid things like this. This was a totally avoidable accident from the reports that we have received. Somebody was trying to make a left-hand turn and it just kind of escalated into this.
Was there a power outage there?
There was for the streetlight circuit. Luckily, it was a streetlight and not the 3-phase dip. It was less than 20 yards away.
Oh, wow.
If it was a 3-phase dip, it would have taken out fire station, everything from the Holiday Inn north up to the powerhouse and across the highway to the water pump station. So, but you know, we had more vehicle and member caused incidents than tree outages last year. This is one of the reasons why.
Thanks for sharing that. The only other thing I'll add is, I know of a fatality on Highway 172 where the guy left his work after working a long day, drove 2 miles and crashed because he fell asleep in 2 miles. He unfortunately died in the accident. So the other big one is if you're tired, maybe take a break. So.
And when we're working on the sides of roads, right of ways, that's one of our check marks on our tailboards. Are we barricaded? Does everybody know to be aware of traffic? It's a scary thing.
All right, sobering safety moment, but sometimes that's good to make it sink in a little bit better. Kirsten,
I'm gonna have an uplifting,
Yeah.
not really.
educate us.
It's about SPP again. So David, Chris and I were at the LPE, I'm sorry, at the CREA annual meeting and the Western United annual meeting last week. One of the speakers was Carrie Simpson, who's Vice President of Markets. Some of you might have met her in Durango at the power thing at the theater. So she was talking about, she started with a little precursor on this is what SPP is. I liked her analogy, and basically the air traffic control for high voltage power. It's a great way of putting it easy, something that people can understand. You get a sense of the busyness of it, but also the cruciality, how important it is. Okay, so a couple of things that SPP is now doing is they're rolling out the consolidated planning process. So it's finally tying generation interconnection and transmission planning together. So instead of separate slow studies, they do one integrated process and charge a grid access fee, with the goal of giving developers at least one clear answer per year on what it takes to hook up new generation and when transmission will be built. So that's a new thing that they're doing at SPP. Still in there, it's still coming, but I think they're trying it out in some places. The other thing is how they're going to handle large loads. So they, as all of us have figured out, for the longest time, we had organic load growth. Just it was going to happen over time. People were going to come in. People were going to use more electricity. But now people are dropping in 500 megawatt data centers. So SPP members. So remember, SPP is a nonprofit. It's not a co-op, but it's a nonprofit. It has members. So they pushed to create a fast track process. So they have what they've created a category called high impact large load. And with that, options for conditional service that can be curtailed or paired with on-site generation to get those loads connected without dumping all the cost on the utility. So that's a great thing that they're working on now. So as a board, what do we need to be looking about? How their market and transmission decisions will affect our power costs and reliability. We're set early on, but when we transmission out a bridge, there's going to be more direct impact perhaps. How the new planning process might influence where generation and big loads land in Colorado, and whether those data center loads show up in our territory or nearby, and who carries the transmission and the curtailment risk. So those are things that we just need to just put in your head, because we got to start thinking. We got to start thinking about these things. So the high level picture, SPP is moving from just balancing to proactively planning new generation, very large loads. And those choices are going to shape our opportunities and our costs over time. So that was what Carrie had. I just want to add one thing is markets markets work when they're allowed to be markets. And right now, because of some of the different coal plants have to stay open and you have to buy certain power, and the DOD is being told they have to buy power, that's screwing around with markets and could possibly, especially over in the East, it could really screw up markets and make it not inefficient, but non-workable. So I just wanted to add that when you're thinking about markets, they're a great thing, but they are at risk. That's my 2.5 minutes.
I'm 5 minutes smarter at least.
Was it 5 minutes?
No.
Oh.
It was just packed with content.
You mind if I add something real quickly?
Yeah, please.
So yeah, it was great to see Carrie. We're in the room together for that one. The question I asked her in the open session was, as they work on Markets Plus with entities like Excel, will it lead to de-pancaking? You guys remember, you've got pancaking transmission tariffs problem when we're not all in the same market. And the reason I knew the answer, so slightly rhetorical, but she confirmed in front of the entire state's co-ops, it will not lead to de-pancaking. So what they're doing with Excel right now does not solve that problem. And so just want to make sure people are clear. Status quo is we got more work to do to solve that problem in Colorado.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
Can I ask a real quick question? It's not off the subject too. Where's the state on what they were looking at the Excel?
Yeah, it appears that Excel is going to file in 28 or 29 for a waiver. And we've got to be ready to win that final.
All right. Okay, that takes us into member comment. Snowy day, so we don't have anybody in the room today, but anybody who's online, this is the time for member comment. I'll let Graham go ahead and give the intro to our member comment period.
Thanks, Ted. The board encourages comments about the cooperative from its members. The board will take all member comments under consideration, but it will not necessarily provide a response during the member comment period. The board asks that each participant's comments pertain to cooperative business. Those wanting to address the board during the public comment period are granted 5 minutes to address their topics, and we will have a counter visible on the webinar screen. Lengthy comments to the board should be submitted in writing. Formal complaints must be filed in writing and submitted in compliance with applicable board policy. Comments from the public will be directed to the entire board, not to any individual. No personal attacks shall be allowed. Failure to follow these requirements may cause the public comment period to be terminated. Copies of our cooperative policies and procedures on public comment and filing complaints are available on the cooperative website.
Thanks, Graham. Want the chair? Sure. All right. President Pitcher's here. I'm going to turn over the gavel. So hang on just 1 second. Member comment.
Thank you.
Glad you made it safe.
Yeah, it was just slow and steady and I didn't quite give myself enough time. So, but everyone is here.
I'm glad you took it slow and steady.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so the first person I see is Sue McWilliams. Go ahead, Sue.
If you're talking, you're muted.
Yeah, you're muted right now. There we
Okay.
go.
Okay, thank you so much for accepting my call this morning. I have a couple of comments or questions, and I'd really love to see these requests or questions responded to either on the LPEA fact checker page or via email. But I have questions on the latest newsletter. It touches on the 2026 to 2030 strategic plan. And where can members find that plan in its entirety? The newsletter also states the LPEA is enhancing support for key accounts and local employers. Does the strategic plan expound on this effort? In 2026, our focus is, and this still is in the newsletter, our focus is on continuing to reduce the power cost relative to our peers, which was a goal in one of the previous strategic plans. So I'd like to know where we are at with the results of that in 2025, if we're still staying ahead of our peers. And then the last thing I have is in September 2025, LPEA conducted the member survey. And I've seen quite a few other co-op surveys, their results on LinkedIn, but I haven't seen LPEAs. So I was just curious as to where members could be able to find those results.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Next, we have Mark Pearson.
Good morning. Hi, thank you. Mark Pierce, I'm a member in District 4. Appreciate the opportunity that LPEA makes available Zoom meetings, so particularly on snowy days like today, it's easy to participate. I had a couple comments. One is to just check in about the battery energy storage systems. I was a little disappointed in the county commissioners, decision. Seems like they got a bit impatient or frustrated and didn't really want to kind of work through all the details they could have to make a policy that would work, more broadly for LPEA. So I think in essence, the commissioners have kind of punted their policymaking authority over to the Board of Adjustment in terms of, waiting for LPEA to bring in an application for one of its substations other than Sunnyside, but one of the substations that would potentially, be of benefit to many members in terms of energy storage for the whole system, but also to help alleviate some of the red zone problems that a lot of members are facing. So I'd really encourage LPEA to kind of jump into this Board of Adjustment, the variance process through the Board of Adjustment, and see what happens, and figure out an appropriate location where you want to pursue batteries. And then the commissioners will be able to see whether their kind of blanket policy that more or less kind of bans batteries across a lot of the county, if that's how they want to go with, stick with that or not. Because I think if LPEA will move forward, make an application for a variance at one of its substations that, you figured out is of the most benefit to the members, and see how long that variance process takes, and if the Board of Adjustment is responsive to LPEA's requests, and just how that whole system would work, and then we'll know whether the structure that the commissioners have created is going to work or not. So anyway, I'd encourage LPA to get cracking with an application like that. And then the other thing, I think a lot of members are just curious what's going on with the intersection in Durango at 32nd Street and County Road 250 with that power pole that's, sort of sticking in the right of way there. That seems like it's been a focus of the delayed construction effort for a couple of years, I guess you might say at this point. So just kind of, I think people appreciate knowing what's happening at that intersection there. So that was it. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Pearson. Next, we have Dave Peters. Go ahead, Mr. Peters.
Hi, can you hear me?
There.
So my name is David Peters and I'm a member in the Durango district. First, I'd like to thank LPEA staff and board members for your service. It's a lot of work, I know. So I've been looking at the rebates offered on the LPEA website. It's a long list, including items like outdoor electric equipment, e-bikes, residential EV chargers, business EV chargers, multifamily EV chargers, to name a few. So I have a couple questions on this program. A rebate for, say, switching to LED lights seems directionally correct since it promotes lower power consumption. However, the items I just mentioned seem to promote higher electric consumption. Given the U.S. is experiencing exceptional electrical demand growth, should LPEA be promoting more electric growth here? What's the rationale for promoting growth, albeit this is probably not a lot of promotion? If LPEA moves to buying electricity from a power broker, we might not have as much dispatch priority during times of low supply and high demand. It would seem this is a possible issue that should be explained to members. The second point is, how are these rebates being funded? Do you have grants, or is this simply an LPEA expense? If the latter, it seems LPEA is given some preferential treatment to certain members, and I expect some of those members might have higher income. Of course, if you made a detailed financial budget public, we could answer this question. I would encourage the board to approve Kelly Hegarty's budget requests that you'll be discussing today. If it's not approved, things might get a little messy and possibly lead to a discovery process. So I encourage you to approve that request. Finally, about 1 year ago, I asked if the Smart Hub meter readings could be updated more than once a day. I never heard back. A simple answer like it's too expensive, wouldn't be reliable, or whatever the reason would be greatly appreciated. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Peters. Next up, we have Diane Pauls. Floor is yours.
I'm here. Mine isn't quite so heavy. It's more as just a regular member of LPEA. I experienced quite a bit of confusion with trying to get my electricity transferred and the names on the accounts, and it's been horrible. I can tell you that. For God's sake, don't let anybody die, because it's going to be hell trying to get everything straight. I was in there right after a death trying to get something straightened out. The ladies were very nice. I thought I had it straightened out. I gave them my credit card like we had for the last 8 years paying the bill. Then we went in and we tried to change one to a LLC, and that happened. And then my son went in and he had his name put on it. And then all of a sudden, about, I don't know, a month later, 2 months later, we get a call saying they're going to shut off our electricity. And I go, what? And they said, yeah. And they left the message on our company's phone number, only to find out that whoever did the input didn't put the right phone number for my son or the right email address. So we get this phone call from our company saying they're going to shut off your electricity at 9 o'clock this morning. I'm like, what the heck? We haven't gotten a bill. Well, I call in and I got a gentleman, very nice, but he says, well, I can't talk to you. I said, what do you mean you can't talk to me? I have 2 accounts there right now and you can't talk to me. Well, your son's on it. And I said, I've been paying this bill for over 6 to 8 years. Can't you go look back and ask, tell me why you called the business and why you didn't call me? Or they had the wrong phone number for my son. We didn't know that. All of a sudden, he says, well, I can't talk to you because you're not on the bill, but I paid the bill. But they're going, well, whatever. Luckily, my son was there and he got on it and he put my name on so I could talk to them so I could pay the bill. Well, after a little bit of discovery, I paid the bill, gave him my credit card number like I have for the last 8 years. And all of a sudden, I go, why the heck didn't we get a bill? I call back in again. So this is like 5 times, you guys, and it was very frustrating. And so I called the guy and I said, where are you sending those bills? And he said, well, we're sending them to your address. And I said, who told you to change it? We've never gotten a bill at this address ever. So we had all this disinformation going on. I don't know why, but I can tell you it was very, very frustrating. And I'm not blaming anybody, but that was not good. So I just want to say I've been a customer for a very long time and it was very frustrating to get this thing redone. So anyway, you might want to figure out I don't know who gave him the permission to change my mailing address. Nobody did in our family. So that's all I know. But thank you for listening. And I don't know, it's just customer service, I guess. Thanks.
Sorry for your loss.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Pauls, and thank you for bringing that to our attention. I would say it's just customer service. It's who we are as a co-op serving our members. So we'll definitely run that through our team and make sure this is not systemic, but I'm sorry that this was your experience with LPEA. Okay, any other public comments? Seeing none, I will close that portion of our meeting. Just in recap, I heard a question looking for our strategic plan, a check-in about our battery systems, encouraging LPEA to jump into the Board of Adjustment for variance. I heard some questions about our rebate program and a threat of another lawsuit, and then some confusion and an unfortunate situation with changing over electric accounts. I guess the one thing I would ask Chris to respond to right away is the strategic plan. When will that be?
Yeah, it's available on our website.
Okay.
And it's also been in the board packet when it was adopted. So it can be found in 2 different places.
Okay. So our website is available to the public. And hopefully if you have any problems finding it, you'll follow back up with us.
If you search for LPEA strategic plan, it's the first thing that comes up on Google at least.
Great, thank you. Okay, and then let's move on to the next portion of our meeting, and that is the consent board items. Do I have a motion for approval of the consent agenda? Okay, got a motion from John and a second from Kohler. Any further discussion? Go ahead, Kohler.
I do have some discussion on the minutes. I did say then some corrections, and one of them got missed, so I don't know if it was rejected or just missed. And this would be on page 4 of the minutes. I don't pull this, it's pretty easy thing. Page 6 of 405 on board. That first paragraph in the second line, it has the word motion in there. There wasn't a motion made. Could get that changed to action.
That's that. Okay, as always, thank you for being so thorough, making sure the record is read correctly. Okay, I don't think we need to take that off the agenda. That seems administrative. And so all in favor of approving the consent agenda with Kohler's modifications? I
This, okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, any opposed?
I didn't
Oh, yeah.
didn't see Tim or John or Dusty's responses.
Yeah, just a reminder to anyone who's attending virtually, we'll need to see your camera for to be included in the votes. And right now we cannot see John or
I
Dusty's.
couldn't hear your motion or where you were at, so if you want to repeat what you're asking, I could hear you then perhaps.
So we were doing the consent board agenda. It passed. There was a couple of changes that Kohler had made in the email, and they were not done. And so we're going to make sure that gets done, but that's what we're approving.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any way to turn us up or?
Maybe your cup is in the way of the
Okay.
microphone.
It's over here.
Thank
32
you.
It's all the way up. Yes.
That's good.
The mic is the owl? Or
Yes.
is it?
It is the owl. Good question. Yes.
Okay, speak into the owl. Okay, yeah, let us know if you're having any problems hearing us online, and I will do my best to speak up. Okay, that passes unanimously, I believe. Well, actually,
Well,
I don't know if we
I've
can
got Dusty's abstaining, we don't
Okay.
know.
what they're
if they
doing.
participated.
Okay. Okay. Now we're
Abstain.
on to, yeah, we have 2 abstentions. And now we're on to the dashboard. I will pass that to you, Chris.
Great, thanks. Good morning, everybody. Finally some snow, pretty exciting. I'm gonna blame it on me finally getting some cross-country skis this weekend. So I'll just keep buying them every weekend. Yeah, great to see everybody. Excited to present the refresh of the dashboard. This is kind of a multi-month effort that flowed directly out of the board's adoption of our new strategic plan and our new framework for that. And so I'm sure it'll take us a few months to fine tune it, but wanted to get this in front of everybody and appreciate the feedback along the way as we get this whipped into shape together. So with that, let's dive in. The first page is really just a chance to remind ourselves of the strategic goals, the mission, the vision that we adopted back at the end of last year, and a short narrative that goes with that and kind of what this moment in our co-op's history means as we come out of our 85th anniversary celebration and into a new chapter in our operations, especially on April 1st, as we make 2 big changes. So with that, let's go to the new KPI dashboard. This incorporates a number of changes that we think will give us better visibility on a kind of month-by-month basis and significant improvement over what we had been using over the last few years. To look at the individual lines there, you can see we've added things like total recordable incident rate and days away and restricted time incident rate, or DART. Those are 2 very commonly used measures in the safety world. We think that's better than what we were using before, which was really just the lost time incidents. Of course, we want that to be 0, and we'll continue to report that out. But we've added more information around the TRIR and the DART. And you can see there our targets and where we are with our actuals. The TRIR is sort of the most inclusive. That is anything that happens that's recordable is going to show up in that measurement. The DART is a slightly higher level of severity. And then, of course, lost time incidents would be at the highest. So you kind of see how we're trying to build up a more clear picture of where we are with our safety performance, from kind of lowest severity to the highest severity, and a chance for the board to get that transparency. You can also see on critical system uptime, the reason we were at 99.5 was because we had a DSL line, 1999 called and wants their technology back, but we have a DSL line from CenturyLink that was out of commission at Arbalese. We have now replaced that with a Starlink transponder. You're going to see a picture of that later in the packet, but that's the reason we had a one piece of our infrastructure that was down for a brief period. We've got that fixed and a much more robust solution now in place using the satellite technology, but just wanted to let folks know what happened on that particular line. On SAIDI and SAFE, you can see there, continuing to track that. This would be the annualized trailing 12-month, TTM is kind of the acronym for that. But you can see we're well below our targets there and maintaining great reliability. As Jerry, I think, would say, the weather, while dry, has also meant some reduced pressure on our system. We haven't had as many big storms as we have in a normal year, whatever normal means anymore. But that has been a positive contributor to our reliability numbers. On the next section, Energizing Tomorrow, you can see there our BE sales. We're going to continue to track that as we go through the year. We've tried to create monthly targets based on previous patterns, but this is new. So give us some time to kind of get more historical data there and see how things are tracking. You'll see that updated month by month. As we go, that will just improve as we get more experience with those monthly targets. It has seasonal variation, as you can imagine, and we're trying to capture that in the way the targets move. That also shows up in kilowatt hours of member installed batteries. We again set the target. We have different installation rates in the winter than we have in the summer. So we're a little bit below, but not much of where we were expecting for January. But we'll kind of see that trend analysis play out over the course of 2026. On the next section, Empowering the Community, member engagement events. We have a minimum target for ourselves of 2. We did 5 in January, so a really active month. And we'll continue that trend as we go through 2026. Program participation, we missed it by 2. We were so close. Not a big miss, but again, we're trying to take past experience, make a monthly goal. So I don't think any big concern there. We've got great feedback from our members on our different programs, and you'll see that tracked month by month on that line. As we get to the bottom section, the creating member value, this is where we're getting the financial metrics with more specificity. Operating margin, purposefully a bit higher this month as we prepare for transactions in February and March. Cash reserves slightly under our target, as well as, and we'll be adding next month we got some feedback from the FAC about also wanting to see days of cash on hand. So we'll add that line, which kind of goes hand in hand with days of liquidity. They're slightly different, but closely related. So we're a little bit under on that target. That really had a lot to do with a lumpy payment that we had on that came in January. So I don't think any big source of concern there, but we can talk about that a little bit more in the FAC report. And then you can see our debt as a percent of equity and our other ratios there, equity percent at the bottom. And we're slightly above, as we've been for several months, in preparation for the debt transaction with CFC that's coming up in the next 40 days. So that is a quick look at the new KPI dashboard, and excited to roll this out with everybody. And of course, always looking for feedback, or if more explanation is needed, please let us know.
Can I ask a question? Do you want to wait for you?
Oh,
Let's wait till the end, please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
yeah, sounds good. All right, let's go ahead and dive in a little bit to each of these sections with some more examples. Here's the promised picture of the Starlink. I know several folks in the room use these at home. I've had good experience with them both at home and on the road, and we have found that this is a great new tool for us as we deal with our data needs and being able to transmit and receive data from lots of different parts of our system. One of our solutions we can now utilize are things like this Starlink, relatively inexpensive, relatively low monthly costs compared to the old technology. And here you can see it in action, standing still on a pole. But it's working great for us. And, we see a path to be able to lower our costs for our data needs across the system. And a big thank you to Drew and his team working closely with our engineering side to get this implemented, and see lots of potential for saving money over the next several years. Also wanted to point out at the top of the second column, something we're trying new this year is to use signs at places where we have projects. So for instance, if we're doing veg management in Raptor J, we're going to put some signs with QR codes at the mailboxes where everybody stops several times a week. And if they want more information, they can quickly access it. And we're putting those at key intersections and the collected mailboxes, et cetera, the entrance to subdivisions, just trying to add another layer to our member communications. The QR code's easy to snap from your car window, takes you right to the webpage where there's full information right up of what's going on in your neighborhood. So that's the place where we update constantly, make sure the information's on our website, and we're just trying to make it super easy for people to get to it. So that's a new kind of arrow in our quiver when it comes to outreach, especially around projects in subdivisions and neighborhoods around the territory. All right, if we go on to the next page, Energizing Tomorrow, one thing I want to point out here is that you're going to see this later in the agenda, but we've received and evaluated proposals for additional solar capacity. We're going to dig into some of the details on that and the commercial results that Dan and his team received back from several different bidders. But that was a really important step that we were able to get done in January and get firm bids for the potential expansion of our solar capacity. And I think the final one on this page, super important, continued detailed discussions with the Growth Fund and with several independent transmission companies on how to partner and expand our capacity over the next several years. If we go to the next slide, empowering community. I'm just going to flip this over here in my hard copy. Did want to point out kind of toward the bottom of the first column, the crowning achievement for us in 2026. We won Most Entertaining Float at Snowdown. The team did an amazing job, and we had dancing dinosaurs and a lot of interaction with the crowd, and we were rewarded with Most Entertaining Float. So well done, and I know a lot of folks in the room were there, but great turnout for Snowdown this year, and something we really love to be a part of. A few other things there on the second column. You can see some of the key account work that we're doing. Emily and others who are heavily engaged in that as we continue that outreach. You can see the list of places where we're really trying to be active. And then there was a terrific event at Fort Lewis College, kind of the latest economic outlook for the region. I know several of you were there or go to that regularly. And this year they did a big focus on the economic impact of Fort Lewis College. So the economics professor Peach did a big piece of analysis that he shared at that event, talking about the 9-figure impact that Fort Lewis College has on our area. So really great to see that. If we go to the next slide, creating member value. This is our place where we can capture some of the work around regional and state engagement. You can see the first point there. Dan and his team continues to work with ICF on our beneficial electrification. We had the member comment earlier about why are we doing beneficial electrification and some of our programs that are designed to enhance that. There's two words there. There's electrification, but the first word is super important. We do it because it's in the best interest of the co-op, but importantly, it's in the best interest of the consumer, the member who's doing it. It's beneficial to them along an economic scale or a convenience scale, or typically both. And that's really how we've tried to design these programs, is to enhance member value. And that's one of the big things that we've been continuing to study. And overall, of course, it helps us with our power cost stability. And that's one of the pieces of analysis that we did with ICF over the course of January. The last thing to mention on this slide is had a chance to deliver the Western Power Players event. I know Ted's been at that event before. This is another poor attempt of me of trying to get a selfie, but this is right before the event started and getting ready to kick it off. But a great annual gathering of kind of regional leaders, talk a lot about regionalization of the grid, getting a good understanding of what's happening in our neighboring states. Extra important for us as we start to integrate more closely with our Four Corner neighbors in particular. And so just wanted to share that really positive experience that I had at Western Power Players. With that, that brings us to the end of the new and I hopefully improved dashboard And as always, welcome your comments and questions.
Go back on page 2.
Yep.
And it's also page 17 of 405. That DART you were speaking of,
Yeah.
TRIR, the target, you clarified that number. I mean, if we hit 1.5 under the TRIR, could we go over that? I mean, is that the maximum?
No.
Score? I mean,
Yeah.
where does that fit in?
You got it. Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about that. I appreciate that question. Jerry, you want to talk about TRIR?
So TRIR is all of your OSHA recordables, which could be, you get a paper cut on your finger. A lot of times that's going to be a recordable if it gets infected. So that number could definitely go over 1.5. That's our goal, is to keep it under that number. Our DART number, it is how many injuries are serious enough to change somebody's normal work schedule. So if they have to be transferred to a light duty position or they're just away from work for an extended period of time. So they are usually more serious and are a better reflection of what's going on internally. Just because OSHA, we have to record everything that happens. So even if it's something minor. So that's why we have both of them on there, because they're both very important. If we're having multiple OSHA recordables, then there's something going on that we need to change internally. But we do want to look at how many people are going on light duty from a strain or a slip or a fall, or arm rotator cuff. They have to be transferred to another position for a certain amount of time. So, but that's why we're recording both of those.
So one of the questions is what would be the maximum? I mean, I know your goal is, but is that out of 100? Is that 10? But
so 1.5. So the way that it's calculated is you take your number. It's a formula for both of them, and it's the same formula for both. You take the number of incidents, multiply that by 200,000, and then you divide it by the total number of hours worked among the entire company over an extended period of time. So since we're looking at this on TTR or TTM, trailing 12-month basis, then we're looking at the entire year each time. And so we are really, that number could potentially be at 100. But if it's at 100, we've had some major incidents.
Yeah. So I kind of see think about when I was describing kind of escalating, right? The least severe, so paper cut, strained back, can't lift anything for a week, broken leg, right? It's escalating on those three measures, and there's no upper limit. I mean, if we had a ton of problems, it would show up in this number, and that we think is a great way for us to that trailing 12-month. Now we know where we're at, and gives us a clear signal of, hey, something's not working, or a low number tells us we're in a decent spot. Never perfect, but in a decent spot. So we think this is a nice improvement over what we had in the previous dashboard, which was really just, did we get our safety meeting compliance done? And did we have lost time incidents? Both important, but we think this gives the board a better signal on our safety situation.
I agree with that. I just was trying to get the math figured out. So thank you.
Yeah, it's a great question.
I also see Tim
Tim.
out there. Yeah.
Yeah, Tim.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for that explanation. I was going to have a question on that, but as usual, Kohler beat me to it. Thank you. I have several questions and a couple of comments. One on page 5 of the dashboard about the working with the Audubon Society to ensure better bird well-being. I'm a avid birder, have been all my life, and so I want to just express the appreciation for that and for the work that you, that staff and everyone does to ensure the avian population is as well taken care of as possible. I also noticed that a staff member joined the Durango Creative District Board of Directors. That was a nonprofit I was on the founding board of. So I was curious who was the staff member that's on that.
Yeah, Monica Vick.
Okay, thank you. Let her know.
Nope.
In the next slide, the slide 6 there, the lighten the load program, I'm not familiar with that. And is there a brief description of what that involves?
Yeah, Dan?
Yeah, Tim, if you recall, you asked about once about the peak time rebate program.
Yes.
Not the stick. This is our branding of that program.
Okay. I thought maybe it was, but I wanted to verify. Yeah.
I mean, we're just trying to make sure we have all the kinks worked out. We have some, like, I'm one of the guinea pigs as well as some of the other staff, just to ensure NISC can handle all the billing aspects correctly.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Dan. You probably are, but there is a position at FORCOR that was funded through a grant that Erica Brown, I think, holds. And I hope that you're coordinating with them or with her to, as you get to roll this out. I think that could be very beneficial. So I just wanted to make sure that was communicated. The other is within this dashboard, we seem to have lost the broadband progress metrics. So I'm wondering if and when and how those might be brought back. There's only a comment about broadband, nothing in terms of the metrics even the metrics that we were getting before. And I don't want to lose track of that or lose sight of that. So maybe it'll appear, or we could have a discussion about that if it's not planned to, because I think it's still an important part of our goals. So those are my comments. Thanks.
Tim, we certainly haven't lost sight of the broadband progress metrics and everything. We were evaluating the metrics we were providing and knowing that what the board really wants to know is that are we keeping up with the demand that the broadband community is that's tied to LPEA. If we need to have a certain number of polls, we get into a make ready status that we are meeting that objective. And so we're just the numbers we're coming up with didn't tell the whole story because people start and stop and cancel and start jobs so frequently they were getting mixed up. So we will definitely be inserting points and valuable information into this. Maybe not as an ongoing metric, but certainly as bullet points. Maybe not every board meeting, but very frequently.
Yeah, I'm just reminded that what we measure is what we do. I mean, if we don't measure something, it's unlikely it gets done. So I will be a persistent voice that says we really need to have metrics that measure where our participation in rolling out broadband to our members is placed, where those efforts are, and the results of those efforts. And it's meant as no criticism. It's meant as a desire to make sure that we achieve things, and measuring them really makes a difference in achieving things. So thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Yeah, and we're certainly continuing to track our poll requests that come in, and we'll regularly let the board know about that progress throughout the year.
Yeah, like the new dashboard, good color palette, thanks for that. But no, I really do appreciate the dashboard. I am so excited that in 9 years, some sort of community engagement finally made it out. I can leave an Excel feeling. That said, thanks for the invitation to continue working on how we, what we're reporting on. And, you know, one of the things I think about with member engagement, especially coming on the heels of our survey, is how are we, member engagement is all about healthy, inclusive, and strengthening touch points. And so how are we actually measuring for those, not just quantity, but the quality of that experience. And so I was trying to noodle on this, and I realized there's a new position starting, so they'll probably have a lot of input on this. So perhaps it's a bit preemptive, but just thinking about things like, maybe these are lower down, we're not getting reports on them, but first time participation rates, percentage of those engagements that are coming across the district, so we can see where we're really touching base or not. And then one that I don't know how we would get there, and it's probably not a month-to-month report out, but I'd be really interested in seeing some sort of trust metric, like how are we doing in earning and maintaining trust of the membership?
Yeah, I appreciate all that feedback. I would point to on slide 5, you know, we've got the KPI, which is the quantity, and then we try to add the qualitative information on this column, so you can see what each of them were, the location.
Totally.
So hopefully that gives you more insight into what each of those means.
Yeah, I think it does. I think, again, if I'm sitting here as a board and just thinking about stepping back and all of the dialogue we've had, this, and again, what we just saw in the survey, this notion of trust. So what are the ways that we can actually measure whether or not all of this work we're doing some sort of increased sense of trust? Yeah.
Right, Kirsten.
Rachel, thank you for, I really like the first time offender or first time participator metric. That's great. And also trying to figure out how to do a trust. I don't know if that's a quick thing at the end of the coffee, you know, so, you know, how's everybody feel? I have no idea. Tim, I appreciate the broadband notice, and if you're not there, I'll carry the torch on making sure we do something on that. My question is really BE sales increase. It was NA for this month. Is that because this is the starting point and the increase will here we have a goal of 22,917, but it's a NA for the current.
Yeah,
The
Dan?
reason why it's a delta between 2 months, and I just don't think December was last year, and it could have been in there.
Okay, so it's just missed. So there is a number that should be here. Okay, so if we could find out what that number is, that'd be helpful. Thank you.
And you'll definitely see that in future months.
Thank you.
Joe?
Yeah, 2 questions. I guess first the easy one on the Starlink. It works on a day like this. Okay. And on the same page, delivering safety, contractor wildlife mitigation service to support hyperlocal fire risk analysis. Just wonder if you could explain the hyperlocal idea.
So it's actually wildfire company. And
what do they say?
What's that?
I said wildlife. Oh, okay.
Hey, also important. And what they're gonna do is monitor our weather 24/7. And when imagine you have a bunch of plates stacked up, and each plate represents humidity, temperature, wind. When all of those plates meet up in the middle, they're gonna make recommendations for enhanced power safety settings on our SCADA control reclosures. That's right.
So this is some kind of national outfit that keeps them on.
Correct.
Oh.
Yeah, they have meteorologists on staff that are looking at all of the information available for our area and utilizing any information they have to make these recommendations to us.
And so they would look at it on a day like this, obviously they wouldn't be looking at it, but
They would be looking at wind speeds, things of that sort. Now, we are going to set the parameters on when we want to be notified. Do we need to be notified of fire danger today? Well, not really.
Okay.
We have enough moisture where I'm able to sleep tonight. So now I'm just worried about snow out.
It'd be great to have a notice of mention of that in the newsletter, just again, to let people know how tuned in we are to.
Yeah, we're planning a cow with the whole board in April that will be really focused entirely on this topic. We've got some new tools that we're discussing here, along with some other steps we're taking, and we're going to lay all that out for the board at the cow in April.
Great. Thank you.
See Tim.
Yeah, thanks. I forgot one other thing I wanted to mention that, one of the members asked about what was happening with that utility pole at County Road 250 and 32nd Street. And then you mentioned the utilization of QR codes. Maybe it would be possible to put a QR code there that could inform anyone who's driving by what is the status, at least as far as LPA is concerned, on the movement of that pole. It is an intersection that I go by when I drive into town frequently, and it is a disruption, and it's not clear at all what's happening. And the Herald had reported one thing, perhaps it's accurate, but that was a long time ago. So I'm just saying, I really like the idea of the QR code and signage. Here's an opportunity to use it that could, based on a member request. So just food for thought. Thank you.
Yep. Brett.
Couple of things. Going back to Jerry's comment on the monitoring, it's amazing how much it changed over 4 days. 4 days ago, the fire danger was off the chart. So I'm sure that's a fairly fluid thing, but I do think it's helpful. And I still would encourage us to look at member engagement on it. If somebody sees something, to maybe call it in, or maybe there's a line that's loose, or maybe a guide wire that's come loose, or something weird. But the other thing is on member engagement, maybe I missed it in the report, but I felt like the Ignacio chamber meeting was very good. It was very well attended. I didn't see it in the report, but that was one of the bigger meetings that I've been to. And so I think those are good. I encourage you to keep that up. That was, I think that area especially could use a lot more of that. The fire district was there, asked some good questions. I think that there's certain areas of the county that could use that type of outreach, and that was a good one.
Thanks, Brandon. Yeah, that one happened in February, so you'll see it.
So it missed this one.
Yeah, you'll see it in next month's dashboard.
Gotcha.
But I appreciate that feedback very much. Okay. Not seeing any more questions, so back to Madam President.
Okay, just a couple of comments myself. I want to thank all of our staff for getting out, things like winning the float, going to the community events. I know a lot of that falls in nights and weekends, and it's really important that we're out there, and we're really proud of what we're doing. So thank you for that. I also wanted to ask my fellow directors, I know one of the things I'm super grateful you started metricing actual attendance to these events. I know that's something we asked for directly, and that's one way to measure success. And I think Durango is pretty well covered, but in terms of communities outside of Durango, we're the people with the best know of like, hey, this is the calendar people look at. This is where you need to announce that. So I would empower all of my fellow directors to reach out and let people know, where can we, in our communities, where do people actually go to find out this information. And another thing that he mentioned, he did really well, I think, with the Ignacio event, was it was coupled with the Chamber of Commerce. So that's a great idea. you know, like whenever we have that kind of opportunity to say like, what if we did the coffee with Chris a few days later? Because we can have coffee before this meeting and have it better attendance. So I really appreciate the new dashboard and the improvements that we're asking for, but I really feel like you heard what we said when we redesigned it, and I'm pleased with how it turned out. Okay, so the next thing, we're at the attorney update of FERC and related actions. I actually talked to Graham about seeing if he could just give the Larson update, because I feel like waiting on our outside legal counsel makes us less nimble in our agenda. And he said he could. And if that is, you know, if that turns out to be insufficient, we can work on changing it. But just for this exact reason, when we're an hour ahead, I don't want to have to be waiting on him.
Yeah, thank you, Nicole. So the updates that Matt provided to me, one was in the end of January, we had our oral argument in front of the 10th Circuit. We had primarily that was FERC with their U.S. attorney arguing on their behalf, but we were allowed to participate in that. We had a consolidated participation with United Power, Mountain Parks, and La Plata through United Power's counsel, who is a former FERC attorney, and I monitored that. I will say that as I was discussing, I think with Joe earlier, I'm a former appellate litigator myself, and it was the first time that I've ever seen, certainly the 10th Circuit, ask for an attorney if they would like more time to speak, but not sort of engage or challenge them in any way. So that was sort of my takeaway from that portion of the oral argument. But waiting on the decision, right? The court has the discretion to issue the decision when it's ready to issue the decision. So it's pending before the court now.
A very small thing I wanted to add. Our attorney in this case was Norman Bay, who was the former chair of FERC, not a FERC lawyer, but
I'm sorry, that's what I meant to say. Yeah, a former FERC commissioner. Yeah, so then chair. I didn't know that. Also at FERC, we have intervened on Tri-State's zonal placement of an asset into SPP. We could have some rate impact for us on transmission tariffs, depending on if this asset is to be within the zone that serves us or in a different zone. So we've intervened in that. I think it's sort of, you know, obviously it's near an edge, and there's an argument to be made that it belongs in a different zone. And we are making that argument along with Mountain Parks and United again. So, and then I have a couple of other executive session matters that I believe we have that identified on the executive session agenda.
Again, on the tri-state matter, is that something that's going to take 2 or 3 years, or any
the zonal placement?
Yeah,
I would think that would get decided this year.
So we would have good information on how it's going to affect us.
Yeah, I mean, we can sort of anticipate, right, Dan, about how it would affect us one way or another. We've run the scenarios, right, and it's valuable for us to have one outcome over another. So we're going to advocate for what's best for our cooperative. And again, right, you know, we've done a good job of maintaining cost control on these things by working together with like-minded parties and stuff like that.
Yeah. You mentioned that is in a certain zone. So that covers all of Tri-State.
No, Tri-State's in multiple zones. So it would be, so obviously this asset is within Tri-State's footprint. Tri-State's footprint is in multiple zones. And so the argument is, does it belong in one zone or another? And if it belongs in one zone, it would go onto the pool that we pay the tariff of in the kind of cost recovery SPP open access transmission tariff. And if it isn't placed in that zone, it would be, the tariff would be paid by different utilities.
So is United and Mountain Parks in the same zone as we are?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody online? Yeah. So yeah, I'll just have the remainder of that update in executive session along with other attorney matters that will update the executive session.
Okay, you guys have your link. We'll see you in executive session. Oh, yes. Do that. Do you want to what staff?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I think for executive session, probably Monica and Dan for sure. I think the others should make better use of your time. He's sitting here.
Okay.
And so,
I'll accept a motion.
and the items on the agenda would be attorney update of FERC and other actions, power supply progress confidential, Sunnyside construction contract, transmission asset discussion, data center market update, confidential attorney client communications related to policy 108 request, and finance and audit committee updates and executive sessions.
Okay, so moved by Kohler, seconded by Rachel. All in favor signify by, or any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye. John, you can't see you if you want to vote. Okay. Any
Dustin's
opposed?
also missing.
Yes.
So that's
Yeah.
his abstention.
Okay, so one extension and we'll go into executive session. Okay, everyone, I would like us to reconvene in public session for our February board meeting. It is 1:41 and we are on agenda item 7. We only have one action resulting from executive session, and that is item C, possible action on 108 request. On the floor. Hey, Kirsten.
I move that we approve the 108 request that states, we find the exact words here, please. Existing records used by management, the budget committee, or the board of directors in developing, reviewing, and approving the 2024 operating budget of LPEA, including but not limited to 1, operating budget schedules or reports showing operating expenses by recognized categories, department, function. 2, administration and general A&G expense schedules, including legal, consulting, and communications expenses. 3, budget to actual or budget to projected operating expenses, operating expense reports for 2024. And I am not including the 4th point in my approval. The 4th point was, okay, so that's my motion.
Okay, we've got a motion. Do we have a second?
Okay.
Go ahead. Okay, and now discussion.
I did not include the 4th point of the request, which was budget committee materials, management budget presentations, board packet materials that reflect operating expense detail reviewed during the 2024 budget process. As we all know, as we all experience, the budget process is all done in executive session because we're in and out. We're talking about vendors and we're talking about NDAs and such. So that's all done in executive session. And the redaction would be ridiculous. It would not really be possible. It just didn't, it doesn't exist.
It would cost the member a lot of time, probably.
Well, it would be a black page. And what the black page is worse than a blank page, which is, so that's why I did not include that in my motion.
Okay. Any other discussion on the motion on the floor?
Don't know where else to say this, whether it's here or not, but you know, when we look at these policy 108 requests, there seems to be two sides to the coin. We're on the one hand looking at the merit of the request itself and does it meet the test of good faith purpose and particularity of purpose and request. And then there's also this procedural and process part of it. And it seems like they're both quite muddled, and I find I would love for staff to look at our policy 108 request forms and figure out how we can pull more information out of those in the initial request to get to a place where we have a little bit more information to work with that's clearly pointing to those two tests and helps us make better decisions.
If I could comment on that. So you're referring to Exhibit 1 and Policy 108. And I think that was a big part of this messy process, was that there were some things coming in an email, there were some things coming in on the form. From now on, we're going to stay true to really just looking at the form. And I think we need to update the form I would empower you to work with staff and hopefully come up with something. Hey, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll be voting against the motion, for the following reason. I don't think that the specificity, of the request and specificity of purpose, match. I don't think what we're providing is going to result in what's being asked for. I don't think that us providing additional information above and beyond what is already publicly available will be directionally positive for the member's request. I think anything that the member is looking to, and this is only my speculation here because the request isn't super specific, but the way I read it, the member won't get any more clarity from the 108 disclosed information than they would from the publicly available information. And for that reason, I don't think it's worth the organizational risk to disclose more information than we need to.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other discussion? Seeing none, we've got a motion on the floor in a second. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have favor.
Okay, all in favor, or all who deny the request? All not in favor.
2, 3.
Okay. That passes 9-3. All right, moving on to board action agenda. Secretary Witchell, will you take us away on the COP activity this month?
Yes. Okay.
Got your email, thanks.
Yeah. Okay. So we have 4 people. We have 5 items to cover here. All these matters have been discussed substantively in the COP, and so I think the best way to do this is to just sort of go down them one by one, and see if there's any. What I'd like to do for each one of them is just try to move this through in a very smooth fashion. Start to get each one opened and seconded for discussion, and either get it off the table one way or the other in a fairly linear fashion. And so with that, let's just start with item number 1, which is
Amendments to policy 108.
Thank you, amendments to policy 108. So can we just start by getting a motion to?
We don't need it. This has been recommended by the committee, so it's on the floor.
Great.
Open for discussion.
So it's open floor for discussion. Does anybody want to comment or have a discussion about the open item?
Houston, let's see here.
I really appreciate the work that was done on this. It doesn't make it any more restrictive. I know there was kind of some concerns of, oh, they're gonna cut the time or something like that. So it doesn't make it any more restrictive, and it does clarify some things. One thing that I understand under 2, I don't know what the A and B is. So it's gonna be A2. The cooperative will provide the 3 most recently filed IRS annual tax returns upon written or verbal request. That is unchanged. We used to do this on the website. I would like to see us do those 3 most recently filed on the website. So I would ask to amend you. I hate to do some work that you guys already did, but I'm kind of late coming to the table on that. This isn't on the website. So I'd like to have this changed to we'll publish the 3 most recently filed IRS or whatever words we use around putting something on the website.
So I believe you have to make a motion.
Okay, I move to amend that we change A2 to read, the cooperative will provide the 3 most recently filed IRS annual tax returns on the website.
or I think what we would probably do is shift that to category A1 of items that are on the website. So,
Okay, I would like to adjust so can I adjust my amendment to be that? I'd like to shift the three most recently filed IRS into the categories of things that we already provide on the website.
Second.
Okay. All in favor of, oh yeah, I'm sorry, thank you.
and that was seconded.
Yeah.
Joe.
Is there, just to understand that, is there any risk or operational burden to doing that?
So I mean, we, like she said, we had been doing it for a while, even though it was out of alignment with this policy. It's
Okay.
difficult. So.
Thank you.
Any other comments, discussion for this? Okay, all in favor?
So 11. We've seen 11 in favor. Okay, great.
For the amendment.
And then
All opposed?
one opposed. One opposed. Good.
Okay.
All
Okay.
right, so it's amended. So
It's
now
amended.
we take up the amended version. So
So the amended version,
all in favor of,
well, so we're still in discussion for the 108 as it stands, or as it is amended. Skull. Tim, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I did.
Go ahead.
Item BA. BA under what section is it?
probably B1A.
Two BA, to be determined, I guess. 2BA. Audited, it says information available without statement of purpose. Audited financial reports of the cooperative for the 3 years preceding the date of the request. Sometimes there are notes and statements within those audited financials, there have been in the past, which are which we have redacted in the past. And I'm just wondering if this sets an expectation that there will be no redaction to that in the future. I would hate to set that up as a potential, dispute at some other point in time. And I apologize for not catching this earlier.
So would you like to make an amendment, a motion to amend?
I would like to clarify first with Graham whether this prohibits our ability to redact a portion of that, and if not, or if it does restrict our ability to redact it, then I would like to make a motion, yes.
So I don't believe so. As if you read Roman numeral 2B Roman numeral 2B number 1, it says, in addition to information listed above, the cooperative members may inspect all cooperative documents except for those categories in C and D below without providing a statement of purpose. This includes this, right? And so to me, if you read these consistently, right, it doesn't exclude the redactions available under subsection D, right? And so I think there is a way to read these together harmoniously, and that is the interpretive rule by courts when that happens. That said, is it intuitive to a layperson that would be the conclusion that you would come to? I can see your point of view, right? That if you were a member looking at this, it might not be intuitive that would be the outcome. And so I don't think an amendment to say with the redactions as necessary to protect information under section 2D. I mean, it would certainly be more clear if you said that. But as it stands, I think we still have the ability to redact information that is generally non-public under 2D anyway.
So could that be a general statement under B? In addition, without statement of purpose, subject to redaction as per section D, that would cover all those categories, right?
Yeah, so the idea might be to say, In addition to the information listed in section A above, the cooperative members may inspect all cooperative documents except for those categories listed in sections C and D below, or with redactions as necessary to protect information listed in C and D below.
So I would make a motion to that effect then. Just so we don't leave an impression that, oh, this should be there without.
So what's the motion?
To include that amendment to reference redactions in section Roman numeral 2B, so that all of the B documents are subject to being redacted as necessary.
So I got you what you want, Tim?
That's fine, thank you.
All right, can I get a second?
Second.
Great. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of the amendment? Your hand up, say aye. Great. Hands down. Anybody opposed? All right, no abstentions. Great. Continuing the discussion on the outer Russian doll. Okay. All in favor of approving this policy with the two amendments? Hold your hand up and say aye. All opposed? Okay, abstained, great. Done?
Yeah.
Next item. Okay, the next item is 109. Oh, there we go, I got it. Yeah. Okay, so this is the Director of Education and Comp. Let's get a motion open so we can.
It's open. It's
open.
it's been recommended as presented by the.
Thank you. Plan, so discussion, any comments?
Yes.
Oh, go ahead, Cole.
Yeah, I'm against it the way it is, so I want to make an amendment to it. And I'm gonna make these amendments referring to the red line. So the first one would be on page 61/405. If I do get a second on this, I'll give you my reason for it. But under B3, that's page 2 of 5 of the policy. The third line says, however, no pre-authorization. I want to strike out the however no, so it would start with pre-authorization is required. Then on 62. So on 62, C3, it has been struck out that the CEO or a delegated staff shall review. It goes on. I want to unstrike that so it still remains in place. So that's my amendment.
Okay, you want to do this as a pair, the single amendment?
Yes, that's a single amendment.
Okay, can we get a second?
Brad.
Brad. Great, let's get the discussion open.
Okay, so my reason for this, number one, I want to make sure everybody understands it. I know we approved the budget from the beginning. I have no problem with that. But I do think we need to find out how that money is being spent within however much we each individually get. Also, I want to encourage everybody to do training and education. If you look back every year I've been on this board, I've done that. I've used that and I appreciate it. I've never been turned down on it. But the third thing is also some history. And the history is when I was first on the board, we had a director that took some training in Florida. They flew down on a Saturday morning, and then that afternoon they had a class. And at that time, you only got paid one way as far as travel. So they put that down as a class day. At that time, it was $250 for that day. And Sunday was the next class, which they took, put down to $250. Then they spent a whole week in Florida with family and friends. And when they flew back, they got paid $250 because that was the one day of travel. And the majority of the board at that time felt that LPEA basically paid for vacation. That's what came to some of this pre-authorization. I still think it's good business practice that we have Someone with pre-authorization, what you gonna do? Maybe not on the funds, because it's already been approved. But what are you gonna do with it? The statement in here is to help you be better at the job at LPA. And when I look at last month's long board meeting, I think, gee, what helped me is that we did massage. By this, that's not an exaggeration, that could be put forward, but it is not acceptable. And when you strike out the part, the CEO, it's not submitted to them, who does check that? A few years ago, we had the treasurer that did the checking on it, and it became too much of a hassle because the treasurer spent more time on that than at the meeting itself, and it just didn't work out well. So I think we need verification of what we're doing here. I think also, as a board, we are part of the executive part of this company. And I don't think any employee or they're in any department, they might get, okay, we're gonna have this much money for you to do some training. That they don't have to get pre-approval or even report on what they've done. I think it's bad business. So that's my reason behind this.
Any other comments? Go ahead. Rachel. Saw Rachel's hand first.
That's okay.
Thanks, Fuller. I agree with the top piece around just getting pre-authorization. You bring up some great points. The additional one that strikes me and that we've talked about in the past is it puts out in front of us what everyone is doing or thinking, and also allows us to coordinate so that, you know, if we don't need 12 of us at the one meeting in Denver, then we don't all 12 end up there. So I don't, it doesn't seem burdensome. It really hasn't ever met with denials that I have seen. It's met with curiosity, and I think just helps us know more about what each other are doing. So I'm in support of that part of this, and we'll go along with the second.
Great, Tim, then Brad.
Yeah, I heard Kohler's discussion, but I didn't hear the actual wording of the amendment that was being suggested. Could I hear that?
So on page 61 of 405 on board, page 2 of 5 of the policy, number 3 on there, the third sentence down, sentence starts with however, no pre-authorization. I want to strike however, comma, no. So that sentence would start with pre-authorization. Then on page 62 of 405 of on board, page 3 of 5 of the policy, number 3, it starts with the CEO or delegated staff shall review. It has been striked out in the red line. I want to unstrike it out to keep it in the policy. That's the amendment.
All right. Hey, thank you for doing that. For reading it back. Appreciate it. I'm in agreement with you, to be quite honest. I don't think open-ended is a good idea for a board of 12 people. I think it's better if we have some review ahead of time and afterwards. So appreciate it.
Just on your language, Kohler, it says no pre-authorization. That makes the clause at the end, so long as total expenses do not exceed the director's individual annual budget. You still want that language in? Yes. Just, you would still want that in. So, and then just out of curiosity, it doesn't at this point, it won't identify who does the pre-authorizing. Do you want that identified in your language change?
Yeah, it probably should be by
the board. Okay, so it would be, so modifying your amendment to be board pre-authorization is required for discretionary attendance at events that relate to the director's role at the cooperative or help improve director's performance, so long as total expenses do not exceed the director's individual annual budget.
Thank you.
That's what you wanted to
That'd
say.
be good. Whoever seconded it approves that.
Brad, I think you seconded it. Are you okay with that?
Okay. Tim, you done?
I'm done. Thank you.
Brad, let it rip.
In agreement with Rachel on it. For a new member like myself, it's very helpful to get an idea of what's going on, maybe what is out there training wise. I'm sure I've missed some training last year that I would have been helpful to go to, but I don't know all those things that would be beneficial. It'd be nice to know what would be beneficial, maybe what's going on. I look at it more as a help for other directors, and also being accountable is important. Thanks.
Great. Thank you. Ted?
So I'll just point out that nothing in the amendment addresses either of those issues. Kohler, your historical point, nothing that we're doing in the policy would prevent that from happening. There's nothing that we've said that particular person would have just said, I'm going to do this training, and that would have been approved or denied per current policy and per your amended version of policy 109. Brad, what we're doing now shows everything that directors are doing. So this change doesn't make any change to that, right? That information was always available to you since you started. So I'm just going to suggest that the suggested amendment doesn't have an impact on the things that you're suggesting that it should.
Oh,
Done.
Yeah. Let's get everybody first and have you come back in. You were addressing him directly, Brad. If you have something to add there, go ahead, but otherwise.
No, I think on 2 points, you may be right, but some you wouldn't know till after the fact, and frankly, accountability still plays in. Thanks.
Fair enough. Let's get first laps.
I'd like to amend to say what we're after is notification, right? We want people to be notified that people are going to be doing this stuff so that there's no surprises. I don't know about this authorization stuff. So if we change it to pre-notification is required, then it doesn't become a, well, who has to approve this? What is this? And what am I approving? Do we have to check his budget? That kind of stuff. Whereas it's notification, it's okay, we're letting everybody know, which we should anyway. And I'll put my whole annual plan out there if you want, because I try to plan it for the year. But I'm after, since I don't remember the exact wording of what you wanted to have, I would like it to be pre-notification instead of pre-authorization. That's my amendment, my requested amendment to the amendment.
Okay, are you making a proposal for an amendment, or are you asking him to revise his?
I don't know. That's whatever I need to get. Okay. Graham, as our parliamentarian, I move the amendment?
I mean, if you would make a motion to amend the amendment,
Okay.
right? We'll see if it gets
Okay,
a
so
second.
I would like to amend the amendment to replace the word pre-authorization with pre-notification.
A second.
Here's to fail for lack of.
Okay.
Okay. Good.
No.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna offer my opinion, then we'll do seconds. Tim, okay? So my opinion on this matter is that you are swallowing the spider to catch the fly. You identified the issue of trying to save 200 to 500, big round numbers, let's call it less than $1,000 of an abusive situation that happened at some point in the past. And that your solution to that is to burden this organization with a monthly ongoing cost that over time will dramatically exceed the cost savings that would come from that additional oversight. Therefore, in its current form, I would be voting against it for that reason. Okay, you and then Tim will go.
So I'm uncertain because I feel like we're just codifying the practice already in the, like, we're already pre-authorizing this in the consent agenda every month when we. So we're just codifying what we're already doing.
The proposal from COP strikes that.
Yeah.
That there is no.
Right, so what we're doing, you're striking it, you're trying to say, let's keep it how it is. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Good.
Yeah. Thank you.
10 seconds, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm uncomfortable on a board of this size with this kind of, I mean, that discretionary budget is large for each of us. In not having a board review and authorization of the use of that for specific purposes. I mean, I'm aware of other instances of utilization of this budget in the past, before I was on the board, that that I'm not sure was appropriate. Could have been or could not have been. I'm not sure. But by virtue of putting in this control, I think we at least have the ability to question and consult and advise. And I think that is our role. And it doesn't seem like a very difficult hurdle. We've been dealing with it for a long time. It came up in my mind recently because a director asked for that authorization after the fact. I think that's easily solved. So I support it because I think it's a really good sound control practice for all of us. And I don't think within the staff, they can just take the budget that they want and go and use it how they expect without some authorization as well. And I think we should be conforming somewhat to what we expect is a responsible use of the members' money. If this amendment were to pass, I think we also might want to consider, or maybe we should do now, page 3 of 5 in the policy under F. What is that? 4F. It had a way to get authorization in between board meetings. And so if we're going to approve pre-authorization, I think we should stick that back in there. So 2 points. One is why I support it. And if it is supported, I think we'll need to amend that piece as well. Thank you.
If I may add that, so you don't have to do it twice.
Sure.
You said it's not like that. So that would be page 2 of 5 under F. We would not strike the last sentence of that paragraph. Page 60.
And what's the third piece, or what was the second is now the third? What was the third part?
That was the one where the CEO actually used.
Will they get reviewed by staff?
Yeah.
Now.
They do, and so, but the proposal is that it would be strict, right? So the idea was that if it was in conformity, the money was dispersed, right? So it's within budget, it was dispersed.
But they still have to look at whether they're using the right per diem and was it discretionary or mandatory? I mean, they still look at that. Or if that strikes that, then I'm totally on board with you. We can't have that not be there. Okay, I got you. I got you.
I've been behind this for a long time, and basically I think in a group like this, there's honor involved. We are elected officials. It's not a nanny state, and we can, act as adults. I think, especially this last little addition is that we can politicize the process. I'm looking at what's going to happen with 3 or 4 boards from now. And if there's a whole different board and people don't like each other and someone comes in and says, I don't want you to do this training because I don't like you talking about green energy, they can say no. So I would vote to keep this as it is.
Okay, thank you. Last call. So all in favor of Bowler's amendments as integrated, hold your hand up, say yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, 5 yes.
It's too late to bifurcate it, isn't it?
Okay, all opposed? Get your counts.
1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. The amendment fails.
The amendment fails. Okay, so.
Oh, I just have another amendment.
Okay, so we're back out to the top of the inception of the Russian dolls. So we are currently debating the policy 109 unamended. Rachel.
I would like to amend the proposed policy and retain item 2F under budget and education expectations that requires directors to report on their conference training or meeting to the entire board and CEO.
B2F?
Your request.
It's an E2F.
E2F, sorry.
Yeah,
Okay,
it
thank
says
you.
it was.
Okay, thank you.
And
Letter of, so what should be precise?
so I propose an amendment to retain B2F as stated
As its original, and it's
in its original.
in its original form, which would be directors shall report on their conference training or meeting to the entire board and CEO. Reports should be via email or verbal at the next regular board meeting. The proposed amendment from the committee is that become discretionary to directors are encouraged to report and may make that. You're making it back to mandatory.
Second.
Discussion. Yeah, you got to, go for it.
Thanks. Yeah, I think to me, there is so much learning that we get from those reports. And I know we are encouraged to do so. I also know we are all very, very busy. And so, again, we're spending director or members' money to go to these experiences to bring back things that will strengthen the board experience at large. And so it's an investment in the company, not an individual per se. And so I think having those reports just ensures that that comes back. And I am nervous if it's discretionary. I, for one, may not get that done because I will find all kinds of other deadlines that I will have to make. And so to me, it's an accountability measure as well as just board edification. And for those simple matters where someone's going to standard training X where nothing is happening, you can just submit, I went to standard training X and nothing happened. We've also seen in these board reports, even at standard training X where nothing happened, some really interesting nuances on dynamics of between this co-op and this co-op or other little nuggets going forward that drive discussion. So I think I don't see the value of making this optional outweighing the good we get from having to spend 5 minutes writing a report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Campbell, David, did you have something or did you change your mind?
No, my whole point was what Rachel said on the standard stuff. You know, that's why I put R encouraged because it's the standard directional. I just became a director training that everybody should have already taken. So I didn't want to waste anybody's time.
Okay, I'll offer my opinion on this matter. I liked to double down on Joe's well-stated point. It's a matter of integrity, trust, honor. Somebody has something to say that they think is valuable to the company, to the group. I want to hear it. I don't think they should be required to make work. And I think, speaking on a personal note, I think that I guess it's not a personal note, as a matter of organization, requiring people to do that presumes something about the other people who are making an assumption that I have something to learn about the training that you went to. And that is, first and foremost, a material cost to this organization, because 100% of this room will now be required to read your documents. And so you are incurring a very real cost with no. You're guaranteed to incur costs and you are not guaranteed to deliver benefit, and you are potentially bringing harm and wastefulness into the organization. Therefore, I would rely on what Joe said, which is a point of integrity and a point of honor. If you think it's worth people's time, then I think it's worth reading. But don't make me do it. Don't force me to do it. I'm not a 12-year-old. That's my opinion. So, I think I was directly addressing you. How about you go first?
I appreciate that point, and I also appreciate the point about we're elected officials and we should have integrity. And I would argue that that has been proven, not in this room per se, but untrue time and time again. And in some ways, being elected puts us to a higher bar of accountability. And I guess I've sat on this board for 9 years, and in the first number of years I was here, these reports did not happen to any degree of quality or accountability. And I would argue we wasted a whole lot of money sending people to far off lands and didn't get a whole lot back for it. And so that assumption of integrity was there and present, but it wasn't really being met. And so I appreciate your point, and I just have some different things. Thanks. Thank you. Nothing to add.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'll just comment as somebody who's like always does their homework. I'm like, I listen with the thought of what am I bringing back? You know, like I never realized this was an optional thing. I thought this was always part of the reason why I had this budget was to bring things back, and so I support your amendment.
Okay. Last, Tim, go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry. Yeah, I support Rachel's amendment as well. I think, yeah, the accountability is in both ends at the beginning and the end. So have at it. Hope everyone will vote for this. Thanks.
See the hands. Everybody in favor of Rachel's amendment, hold your hand up.
4, 6, 7.
All opposed?
3.
Okay, motion carries. It's amended. So back out to the top. Let's continue the discussion on 109 as amended. Any additional questions, comments, discussion points?
This is not material. It was just with the amendments made striking the need to get approved budgets.
But we didn't do that, just so it failed.
Correct.
Okay.
But we no longer have to get it approved, correct?
Yeah.
And so, there's something in 2E. It's just a word that needs to be taken out, which says the cooperative will reimburse or pay for fees charged to the director to attend an approved class. So my understanding is we don't have to get approved, and so therefore just get rid of that. That was just a little.
Yep, I see. That makes sense.
Thank you.
I think it just straight away.
Okay, last call. All in favor of the policy as modified, as amended? Hand up.
Not as amended.
As amended.
Is.
As amended.
Oh, right. Okay.
We good?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Favor?
All opposed?
1 opposed.
Okay.
Abstentions? Was there an abstention?
I think that accounts for everyone.
Oh,
Okay.
Dusty isn't here.
Yeah, Dusty and Joe.
Oh, right.
Okay, let's try the administrative ones. Okay, item 3. It's open, the floor is open for discussion on item 3. This is the timing of when you can vote.
Yeah, what this is a record date amendment. So as both SBS, our independent third party that manages our election, and the election supervisory committee have requested a specific record date that says when people are allowed to vote. The committee on policies reviewed this and has proposed to recommendation to be placed on the ballot for the annual meeting. That is resolution 2026-03. So would consider resolution 2026-03 to be on the
Tim, you're up.
Yeah, I've read this a bunch of times, Graham, and I hope this doesn't come across as critical, but I really don't know what it means. The record date for determining, I'm going with the resolution. The second sentence, the record date for determining the members who are entitled to vote in person at the annual meeting shall be on the date of the annual meeting of the members at such time as the board of directors has approved applications for new membership at a regular or special meeting of the board of directors is really difficult for me to parse. What is that date? And
so basically what this is doing is compelling the board of directors. So procedurally, you cannot vote unless you are a member. You cannot be a member unless your membership has been approved by the board of directors, which is why
I understand that piece. I don't understand how this is setting a date. If I were to sit down and say, okay, I'm a member on this time and this time, how do I know, right? I mean, okay, I joined the membership after the ballots were sent out, but before the annual meeting. What is the record date is not clear to me here. This language is difficult to parse. Could there be a way to make this more clear? I guess is my question.
So
maybe I'm the only one, in which case
I'll consider 3 different variations from 3 different co-ops around the state that I provided to them. One was to set a firm record date approximately 30 days ahead of time when the ballots go out, right? And that is the way, I'm going to forget who does what way. It was Holy Cross, CORE, and United Health, right? And so one was that date, right? You sort of set a permanent record date in your bylaws, which would be 30 days before the annual meeting, right? Another option was that the board, by resolution, approved the record date every single year, right? So when you adopt your annual meeting timeline, you would adopt a record date at that same resolution. And then the third, this one, by CORE, which sort of codifies what we already do, which is that if you become a member after the ballots go out, we can't get you a substitute ballot. You can't vote online through our online portal because it just doesn't work that way through SBS, right? You just can't make that available. So the only way for you to participate is in person at the annual meeting, right? And so in order to vote, in order to qualify for that, you have to have been admitted as a member by the board, right? And so that is why that language is stated the way it is. I'm open to linguistic improvements if anybody thinks they exist, but it unfortunately is a sort of very arcane, relationship with membership and admission via the board, and approval of that membership, things of that nature. And it just, I think, needs to all be reflected.
Okay, so before we go any further on this, given that this is a very nuanced issue with a lot of moving parts, I would suggest that if you guys are unhappy with this language and you want to start making amendments, kick it back downtown into COP with some feedback rather than trying to do the ultimate.
But we have to do this now.
No, if we have this on if we vote on this in March, it can make it on the ballot.
So let's try to get it passed right now, but I would propose let's not do what we just did there on the previous one. But it's up to you guys. I'm just offering guidance. Ted, go ahead.
Yeah, so I like what you've done with the result. I hear Tim's concern about, I'll put words in Tim's mouth, but member understanding. If I'm a member or not quite a member or whatever, how do I know? If we accept this language, do we have another communication channel? Will there be another way for members to know? Can we have clearer communication during the election process or something like that? And I don't want to add work here, but is there a way to include that clear enough that we solve Tim's concern about member understanding?
That we have an FAQ with our election page that says, when can I vote? Yes, right.
Yeah,
If you are a member, before ballots go out, you can vote by mail, electronically, or in person. If you become a member after ballots go out, you're only able to vote in person.
And we could give exact dates.
Yeah, for each we would publish that for each election, right? Because that would be this year, it'll be May 21st. Next year, it'll be May 19th, whatever, so yeah, we could republish it with the actual dates every single year.
Yeah. So I'm not asking for any modifications, just suggesting that we can pass this the way it is, as confusing as it is, but effective as it is, and deal with the confusion part separately.
And to be clear, we're not actually passing this. What we're doing is putting it on the ballot for members to consider. And then we would have communication in with ballot says the board recommends that you adopt this, for the following reasons.
But we could provide this type of clarification on the ballot measure as well.
Can absolutely inform the membership of why the board is encouraging them to vote yes.
I don't know, as a member not of the board, but as of the co-op, if I saw this bylaw amendment, I would laugh and say no. I don't think it's clear. It is really difficult to understand what it is that is trying to be said here. I apologize immensely for being dense, but
Ted had the floor. Let Ted speak.
would you ever let me finish? I really, you don't need to cut me off every time here. It's annoying.
I'll vote for it. I feel like we can solve this through language, both on the ballot measure and during the voting process.
Put in affirm.
How do I get rid of the floor, John? I'm done.
Yeah.
Without changing the words, some clarity might be just putting a return between the three. There's three things. There's three record dates, and each record date is a different thing. So can we have, it's all the same words, but it as a run-on sentence, it looked like we're just talking about one record date. So we're talking about the mail-in ballot date, talking about the date that you can vote it and still vote it online, in person, and we're talking about the special meeting record date. So there's three different ones. Running it all in one, I think, is what confused the heck out of me. I don't know what got you confused, Tim, but I was thinking we were talking about one record date and was confused. Can you, without changing any words, can we just put a return in here, or A, B, and C?
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, A, B, and C is probably fine.
I would suggest that. I'm not going to make a move to amend it because I'm still up for discussion. If it's not going to be, if we're going to put it off till next month, I'm not going to bother trying to amend it now.
Okay. Rachel, go ahead.
I propose we kick it back down to you all to wordsmith it and make it clear and bring it back. I would hate for this to fail simply because people don't get it.
Okay.
And we have to second that.
Okay, so table.
I'll second.
Great. Okay. All in favor of table?
All in favor, say aye. All right, table, take it back downtown. Okay. Next one.
Before going to the next one, just real quick, John. This and Graham put this off because it was a question in the COP. This affects about 50 brand new members. So to Tim's observation and everything, and maybe what Ted was saying for an FAQ, if you explain that the current members aren't affected by this as a brand new member, approximately 50, when it's kicked back to us on the COP, we'll take that and look at that. But I think that was a big light bulb moment to me, is we need to solve this for the 50 members and not disenfranchise them. They do have an option to go to the live annual meeting and vote. So hopefully that clarifies some of it.
All right, next item. This is retiring policy 366, which is the community solar program that is entirely predicated on our partnership with Tri-State. The recommendation from COP is to completely retire the policy. So with that said, floor is open. Go for it.
I think it's important to put on the record, this is not that we're not supportive of community solar gardens. It's just this policy is antiquated with our new business model, so we just need to come up with a new way of doing this.
100%.
And I also might say for the record that we have suspended policy 366 for several years because it did not comply with Tri-State Policy 119, and they basically told us that we were allowed to proceed with one cooperative owned community solar garden, which we developed as Sunnyside, and that was it. And so we were basically compelled to pull 366 when we were told that it didn't comply with Tri-State's policy, and they considered it to be in violation of their policies and their wholesale electric service contract. And then, yeah, we've also, I think we've discussed at the Committee on Policies that staff will definitely be evaluating what the current lay of the land is for community solar gardens and have a more robust and policy that's reflective of the current environment. This policy is at least 13 or 14 years old as drafted. And it also won't impact existing community solar gardens, which have individual contracts.
Excellent.
Any other comments? All in favor, or came up, say aye.
Aye.
There we go. Thank you. Any opposed? Great. Last item. Okay, that passed. Edits to policy 102. This was just a word choice. This was the lightest of all of them. The floor is open if anybody wants to open up. And actually, let me provide a tiny bit of context there. So you'll see this on PDF page 83 of your meeting book. It's a one-word change. And if I recall, and correct me if I'm describing this incorrectly, work plans is comprehensive and expansive, and a general term, capital plan is specific in meaning and precise.
Yeah, currently capital plans are what the board approves, right? We don't sort of have a work plan exactly that, you know, I'm not even sure what would fit into this policy in that sense. So we're just trying to reflect the language of the policy with what's actually happening for several years. Board approves a capital plan.
And a work plan is a generic term that can be expansive. It can mean a lot of things, but a capital plan is something very specific that we are already doing. So that was the context that brought it up to the board. Brad, did you have a comment?
I had a question on C6. I think I know, or I think I understand demand side management and energy conservation, but did somebody help me on that to clarify?
Are you asking, Brad?
Is this policy 102 we're on?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you asking for a definition of those terms?
C6 at the end of the paragraph, demand side management for community and economic development, demand side management and energy conservation. So demand side.
Yeah, you're asking
what
what is demand side
is the
management?
meaning of that phrase?
Yeah, demand side management takes on different forms. Demand side management could be a contract we have with a commercial customer to say, hey, during peak, will you ramp down, and we'll create a program. They would have an incentive to ramp down their demand during a peak period. So that's one example of demand side management. Lots of different ways that could happen, but Dan, you want any other examples?
Time of use programs.
Time of use, yeah.
The fact that we control EV chargers to stay off our peak demand side.
That's what I thought. What I just wanted to clarify, and I have some thoughts about that, but that's for another time. So
Fair enough. Other thoughts or comments?
I would like to amend the proposed policy. A2, selecting and appointing the board attorney and annually reviewing his or her performance.
Sorry.
So
you want to strike?
Sorry, right now it says
periodically.
I don't know if we do it,
Annual.
so I have to change it to annual.
So can we open, she can do that? Just because we're not pushing up edits, but we only have.
So this was not a comprehensive review of policy 103. This was just sort of, we were going through, we had gone through the budget process and approved the capital plan. And we're sort of like, oh, well, we're sort of like, the policy says work plan, but what we're really approving is a capital plan, right? So we're, kind of going through our rollout as, at our leadership team budget level. We're just like, oh, we should probably make sure that policy reflects what's actually happening. So that's
Okay, so let's just sort of focus on procedure here. It is your right to request that change right now if you want. The context that he's providing is, we did not evaluate this, so it's not an affirmative request. The only affirmative thing that we edited was the one word. So you were welcome to make that request if you would like.
Great, I would like to amend policy 102 to include an annual review.
To change the word periodically to annual.
Yep.
Second.
Now, where is this again? I'm sorry.
It's on page 80 of 405.
Policy A2A2.
Roman numeral 2, capital A, go for it, number 2.
So when I was reviewing this policy, I was reminded that I hadn't done that yet. And so the process, I was actually going to ask for feedback this month, either via email or meeting with me. Much less of a robust process than when we did the CEO. And then when Chris reviews Graham at the end of the month, he's just going to include that we call that a paper review. So that is the process. The other thing that came out of that discussion, well, actually, so it is happening is all I'm saying.
Okay. Thank you. Up on the video. Go ahead.
Just gonna say again, old school, prior to having council in house, we did an annual review with our contracted attorneys, and it wasn't painful, it wasn't time consuming, we had something very rote, but I thought it just was really valuable, it gave feedback.
Sure. All right, so yes, for my opinion, specificity seems to serve this board well. It's more precise, so I would be in favor of it. All in favor? Hand up.
Sorry, I'm not sure I heard the amendment.
So it is under section Roman numeral 2, capital letter A, number 2, changing the word periodically to annually, when it says selecting and appointing the board attorney and periodically reviewing his or her performance, that will now be annual.
All in of Rachel's amendment, or hand up and say aye.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Okay, all opposed? All abstain?
1 abstention.
Thank you. Okay, we're back out to the outer
motion
pass. Back out to the outer doll.
Yeah, the difference between a work plan and a capital plan. Work plan is multi-year. It determines what plant you need, and when, based upon engineering and reliability, we are strategic. We should be looking at the work plan. The capital plan and the budget is how much we do in that year. We have to look at that too, and that is what we look at when we look at the budget. But I think we have to be looking further out than just 1 year, which is what the capital plan is. The work plan determines what plant you need and when, based on engineering and reliability, and I don't want to strike it. So I'll be voting against the amendment.
Okay.
And I encourage each of you to consider that.
Okay. Thank you for that. Last call. Rachel, go ahead.
Would you consider amending it to say work and capital plans?
That would be fine, but then I see it's got the word annual in there. So an annual work plan probably still has to look out multiple years. So yes, I guess work plan works because an annual work plan isn't just for this year. Your work plan for this year, it says in 5 years, we're going to be doing, another substation over in Empty Squat. My favorite place.
Okay.
So yeah, I'd like to offer an amendment to change the wording in 4 instead of just striking work and adding capital to keep work and add capital. So we would read reviewing and approving the annual work and capital plans, comma, et cetera.
Second. Okay, let's have a discussion about the amendment.
So doesn't the C1 cover that, reviewing and approving the strategic plans, goals, and objectives that the cooperative has developed and recommended by the CEO in consultation with the board? Doesn't that cover it?
To me, it doesn't, so I know you said, Graham, you don't understand what a work plan would be at this level, but when I think of utilities and work plans, it's not just the money and what we needed, it's why we're doing it, it's out in the future, it's more about our, it's how we're it's how our operations folks are implementing our strategy. And from an oversight standpoint, we need to understand that, not just money wise, but okay, so you guys are saying we have to in 5 years, we're gonna have to do this. Fabulous. It also feeds into our LTFF. So we basically would be accepting an LTFF, which is all forecast, without understanding the work plan that kind of came under that. So that's why I'd like to see both. I think it's an oversight issue for us that we should.
Can I cite a different section of the policy? C7 currently says reviewing in consultation with the CEO studies of long-term forecasts and needs and determining necessary plans in the areas of power supply, facilities, and services. Is that long-term work plan for users?
Work plan is C7.
It might be, but why?
Yes, and it says analyze annual work plans developed by the CEO and his or staff.
Okay, so why was it in 4? So it used to be in 2 places, 2 different work plans. Okay, fine. If it's addressed, then I'm fine. I'll vote for it. I'm good. Thanks.
Okay.
So withdraw the motion, is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. Thanks, caller.
Okay. Last call. So we're back out to the outer doll. Last call. All in favor of the motion? All opposed? Okay, we got 4 out of 5. Students get degrees.
Thank you for getting us through that. No.
Tim has the same.
Oh.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Tim.
Yeah, apologies. There was a vote that I must have missed. Did we vote on the motion to approve retiring policy 366?
We
You
did.
abstained.
Yeah, we had you as abstaining.
You-
So
You held your hand up.
no,
I don't recall. I must have been distracted by something because I didn't
Okay.
vote one way or another. I wasn't aware
Okay.
of the vote.
Okay, if you want to.
yeah, I mean, we can take your vote on 366. So it passed to have it retired, but let's.
I won't. You can leave me as abstain. I wanted to discuss that a little more, but since it's already passed, we'll move on. Thanks. I just wasn't sure why that wasn't still on the agenda. Appreciate your explanation.
There's no COP meeting this week or next week. Just FYI.
Is that going to be an issue at all, getting the bylaw amendment?
That's a good question. How about I will circulate, and I think anyway, because I don't know that the people who were concerned with the bylaw language were going to be able to attend the COP meeting anyway. I will circulate that, and you can all live edit the existing document, and we can just do that as a opportunity for input that way, and we'll resume it at the next meeting.
Okay, so we are now on to item 8B. It's 2:48, and we are going to have a hard stop at 3:30. So if we start to get tight on that, I'm going to start prioritizing what needs to get done. So that's just a heads up. So Finance and Audit Committee, we will pass the mic over to our treasurer. Go ahead, Mr. Wheeler.
Thank you, Nicole, or Madam Chair. And so the Finance and Audit Committee did meet yesterday. to accommodate a change in my schedule. So there wasn't a written report. Apologize for that. But verbally, there's three things. I won't go through the whole report. I will just point to the three things that need some action from the board. There was a recommendation by the Finance and Audit Committee to approve the amendment to Policy 201, the financial and management goals, which were outlined in the board packet for all of you. Since that came out of committee, it doesn't need a second, and I would take any discussion or questions at this point on that recommendation to approve the amendments to Policy 201. And help me if anybody sticks their hand up that I can't see. Doesn't look like it. So all in favor of those amendments, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Do you have a count? Is that unanimous?
That's unanimous, yes.
All right, thank you. The other one is, the next one is a motion to approve the amendments to Policy 205, the allocation and retirement of patronage capital, as is in the board packet. The Finance Audit Committee made a unanimous recommendation for the board to approve that. Again, out of committee, no need for a second. Is there any discussion or question on that? Doesn't look like that either, so I'll go ahead, Kirsten.
Just want to say out loud what it is. It's because our members can't see what we're looking at. It's to strike the accumulative retirement of G&T patronage capital to cooperative members will at no time be greater than the amount of accumulated cash retirement and capital credits received by the co-op from its G&T. And since we're leaving Tri-State, we still owe those G&T. We want to make sure we can still pay those, even though we're no longer going to be receiving them because we received them in bulk. And we just wanted to make sure we were all dotted I's and T's. Thank you.
Any other comments? Doesn't look like it. All in favor of approving those amendments, raise your hand, please, and say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Unanimous, thank you. The third is a motion to the FAC recommends that the board approve the capital projects and items budget variance. I believe, is that 2026-02 resolution? Is that correct? Yes. Sorry, it's hard to hear you guys. So as per resolution 2026-02, which will also be posted later on the website. Any discussion on that or questions? Go ahead, Kirsten.
Sorry, Brad had his hand up first.
I
Sorry.
can't see Brad very well for some reason. It shows you more often.
I know.
I'm magnetic. Go ahead, Brad.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. Just going back to a question that came up for me yesterday was just on the circuit breaker equipment. That there were two items on that were exactly the same. I wondered if that was an accurate reflection of what was budgeted.
Yeah,
Sorry, those were values that we're saying, not a cost, not necessarily the same described item. So Dan, you were going to check on that, I believe.
Yes, yeah, we looked into that, and the quote from the sub-vendor had the same price. It's basically same equipment, different model, did slightly different functions, prices.
Does that
address
the question? All right, okay, thanks. And then Kirsten, I believe you had your hand up.
Yes, sir, I did. Thank you. So part of this is reprioritizing the budget, and the staff is recommending to us that we delay the following, or that they delay the following approved items: the fire alarm system and the warehouse and meter shop stucco. I don't think I'm as concerned about the stucco as I am concerned about the fire alarm system, because I don't understand the ramifications. Do we currently have a working one? are we setting any safety issues? Can anybody help me with that?
Be happy to address that. So we currently do not have one. As folks are aware, this building was built in 1979 without that system. We were proposing in this year's budget to start that installation. And with this recommended change, we're asking to delay that by 1 year. That is existing risk. It would continue for about 12 more months. So that is a real impact of this decision. I do see potential upside, though, in that we are evaluating some other refurbishment options for the headquarters. And there could be some economies of scale of doing multiple projects at one time.
Okay, all right. So where we're weighing is the risk of maybe not being able to do some of these other capital projects with the risk of putting off for 1 more year, something that sounds incredibly dangerous to me. I guess we all just walk around with a fire extinguisher.
Well, I would encourage us not to be, not be flip about this, because this is very serious, and this building, as this board knows, is out of date.
Right.
This is one example of how this building is out of date. We also have asbestos in the building that we would like to remediate. We have a floor plan that is not particularly suited to modern working conditions and collaboration. So there are a number of things I would love to address. And you'll be seeing some proposals on that. We had a chance last year to look at a potential for a different building option. That didn't work out. So we have reset based on where we are with the budget. And there's a real trade-off here. We're accepting that this current risk would continue for longer, but I do think the trade-off is worth it. And the upside, again, is that we'd be able to do multiple projects at once that could have potential cost savings.
Thank you.
Any other questions, discussion items? So all in favor of approving the resolution 2026-02, please raise your hand, say aye.
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 I'm on.
You're not.
I'm on.
Okay.
No lead, sorry.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that. What did you
I was late in putting my eye up, so I was just
Okay.
announcing.
So is that unanimous?
Yes.
All right. Any other questions on the FAQ? Back to you, Madam Chair.
This goes so smooth. Like a layup, there's like a 3-point layup. I'm getting hammered out there on the floor.
Okay, item number 8C, consideration of proposed bylaw amendments. We all got that in our packet. It was materially identical to the bylaw amendments we considered in the spring of last year, spring and summer. Although there's 4 of them. This was put forward by Director Brad Blake, so I'll let you go ahead and actually, should I wait for a motion to approve first, or can he?
What are our potential actions here?
Yeah, I think if we want to have pre-action discussion, you can.
Okay, let's go. I'll go ahead and, since this was near and dear to you, go ahead and.
So you want me to present before your pre-action
Well,
discussion?
that would be the
Okay,
reaction.
that's fine. So yeah, I was presented with these. They've been presented similarly before. And I kind of considered it carefully, thoughtfully. And it goes back to just what we can do as a cooperative and a board of a cooperative to be more transparent, to be more thoughtful in requests like this, more, I guess, more PR friendly. And that's why I considered putting it forward. I knew it would probably run into some headwinds, but I still feel like it's a member's prerogative to ask us as directors to do something like this. And that's why I brought it forward to all of you.
Okay, go ahead, Rachel.
Can I just ask procedural, because last year, one of the issues with this was the way it got brought forward. It doesn't line up quite with what we have lined out in policy, and it meant we couldn't dialogue, and it was quite challenging. Is there a particular, especially given that you gave this a lot of thought, is there a particular reason why you're bringing it for them, not necessarily as your proposal, but their proposal, and they're not following the member route?
Yeah, just for what I just mentioned, it is because I think that they have some pretty strong headwind going the other route, so they feel like they can come to a member and say, hey, or a board director, and they can make a, I guess, an end run, so to speak, if they feel like they're not having their needs met in any way.
And so then my follow-on question to that is then, therefore, are you saying these are what you're recommending? And so if we have follow-up questions, we'll ask you?
I would say that, sure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So we had a little bit of a presentation. Do we have, I'll open the floor.
Are we looking at these one at a time? Okay, I need to recuse myself from the first one, but not the other ones. Because I have ownership interest in my family's LLC. We have tiny little portions of Oklahoma wells, and we get a little over $5,000 a year from those wells, and that is definitely in the energy products. So I would be affected by this. I had a lot of things to say of why I wouldn't want to limit things, but I have to recuse myself at this point and shut up. And I can leave the room if you need me to.
I guess, I haven't even heard a motion yet to approve these.
I don't think it's at all clear what potential actions are available to us. I don't see an action available.
Yeah, okay, so what I see is two different actions. Somebody could make a proposal that they wanted all of these to go forward to the membership for a vote. Or someone could say, I propose that we put this one to the membership for a vote. That's the actions that I would see.
Aren't we also allowed to edit for the policy thing, Graham?
Yeah, so if you're going, if the board is going to recommend these, you can recommend them in whatever form you choose to recommend them. And as we saw earlier, right, we have a proposed bylaw amendment that's for the board for consideration. If the board were to adopt and recommend these, this would become a board recommended bylaw amendment for vote.
Okay, so before we were to at all debate the merits of it, I would want to make sure I understood there was a motion on the floor with a second about what we were doing, but I saw Tim first.
Yeah, I move that we do not advance any of these four to the consideration of the membership as bylaw amendments in this forthcoming annual meeting. These were, so that's my motion, and we can talk about it later.
Motion by Tim, second by Joe. Tim, do you want to say something more on it?
Yeah, we discussed these very thoroughly last year. There were several more, I believe, 2 or 3 more. And as a board, I don't recall exactly the vote, but it was a solid majority that said these were not what the board wanted to advance at that time, that they are highly restrictive in a way that doesn't necessarily, and I think I'll say for me anyway, in any way improve the value to the membership of the governance of the board. They're highly restrictive in a way that diminishes our members' value. So I haven't changed from last year. I don't think there are any changes in these amendments that warrant another look and a positive vote. So that's where I'm at. You know, it might be worth also putting them on the screen so that someone could see them if they were a member, because what we're talking about here is not available in the board meeting to look at. I don't know if that's a good or a bad suggestion, but we're talking about something that the members don't have a context on. So anyway, thank you.
Ted, go ahead, Ted.
Yeah, I would argue against that suggestion. One of the biggest concerning things to me here is that we're not following the protocol that we clearly have lined out, that we thoroughly reconsidered a year ago and chose not to change the way that this happens. And certainly not putting this on you at all, Brad, because you weren't here for this discussion, but this is happening exactly the same way that it happened a year ago. And was rejected a year ago. A board member brought essentially the same bylaw proposals to this board a board member brought it at the behest of a member, and then later the member became involved in that. And so we're doing exactly the same thing over again and expecting a different outcome. Tim, to your point, if this was brought before the board in the proper methodology, which is by a member to the board, we wouldn't have the problem that you're describing right now. We would hear that in public session, and we would know exactly what it was, or it would be presented in writing from a member. So I don't think we should circumvent that, existing process. And then, it's just frustrating to me that substantial time has gone into this with no changes. And sorry, there are changes. It is, there are some mild changes here, but it looks to me like Graham put an awful lot of time in trying to do the work that the member, whoever's requesting this, or the board member, whoever's bringing it to us, should have done. It should be in a condition that it could be put in front of the board. So I'm on board with Tim's motion that we deny all of these. I'd also just point out that there is a process for members to get bylaws on the annual meeting ballot, and it's present the thing, go out and get the signatures, and it goes on the ballot. So it doesn't even have to go in front of the board. So I don't feel like we're taking away any member rights here. We're just saying the same thing we said last year about this. So I'll yield the floor.
The only thing I'll add is, and I appreciate the discussion, but also some of the members feel like a few years ago, this is probably before some of you here, I know it was before me, but the bylaws were changed so that it made it almost impossible to bring something like this before the board via signatures. So there again, almost putting an impossible level to meet out there in the member's mind. So the members should have an opportunity to make means whatever, or make do with whatever means that they have. And that's, I think, what happens. So you could look at it from their point of view, say, well, they purposely put this out of reach so nobody could get a bylaw amendment made. And take that for what it's worth. That's a discussion that's out there.
Go ahead, Rachel.
If this is in helpful context, it had to do with the advent of digital petitioning. And so it became quite easy to get massive quantities of signatures using digital versus door knocking. And I wonder if that's a distinction we can make in the policy. Because they're very different things. And I agree, to door knock and get 4,000 signatures is a pretty big deal, but to do it digitally, it's quite easy.
We get 4,000 signatures. Every single person in this room got 4,000 signatures.
No, 15 signatures.
1,500. Oh, that's true. Well, I knocked. Every single person here has knocked 1,000 doors. Right? I knocked 1,000 doors. And I think that it's not beyond the reach. It's just inconvenient. And if you really cared enough to do it, you do it. And so this is just I'm strongly in favor of Tim's proposal to do nothing here. I see nothing wrong with the current policies and the current bylaws. And I think that pandering is to a tiny little bit of people who don't do the hard work. to affect the change that they would like to see is completely counterproductive to the tens of thousands of other members who are broadly very happy with with the way this organization is run. That's my opinion.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, so we have a motion and a second, all in favor of not bringing these proposed bylaw amendments to the membership for a vote, signify by saying aye.
1, 2, 7.
Okay, all against? 2 nays. Any abstentions?
Recuse.
Recuse. Okay. Okay, so that fails. Moving on to reports, item 9 in the agenda. Attorney reports. Go ahead, Greg.
So I will refer to my written report, and I know there were some questions that I was going to get, and so I didn't take good enough notes to remember exactly what the questions were going to be. So please remind me of your questions, and I'm happy to answer.
Why not the one that says?
Oh, I think we did have a question about what the status was of our La Plata County civil litigation. The public information related to that is that there was a motion for class certification that led to a recusal by the entire 6th Judicial District. The case has been assigned to the Chief Judge of the 21st Judicial District in Grand Junction, and then the motion for class certification has been withdrawn.
Thank you.
Okay.
And then
That's the one I wrote down. So, but that wasn't, we didn't answer that.
Any other questions for Graham? All right, we're going to move on to director reports. Anything for Roundup? Saw you right there.
Nothing more than what is in the report.
Thank you for that. It's a thorough report. Go ahead, Kirsten.
Sure, CREA, the report's there, great annual meeting. You guys are gonna be getting one more document from me, and it's gonna be about the Capitol co-op day at the Capitol. It was great fun. I absolutely loved it, but I haven't gotten to written my notes because I've got cramps in my hands from writing all these bloody notes. Okay. Any questions about the CRA? Yes, ma'am. What is a meter collar? A meter collar is, let me look at my notes here because Joe asked me the exact same thing. And thank you for asking, but can somebody who actually knows what they're talking about this? Chris isn't here, but it's, I mean, Chris is here, sorry, Dan's not here.
Yeah.
Sorry, sir.
Yeah, there's a bill this year that would allow UL listed balcony solar to be used without restriction. And part of that would include the ability to put a meter collar on, basically use that energy and it wouldn't be reflected in how your meter operates. So kind of think of it as bypass mechanism. So this is part of the discussion. It relates to the net metering discussion as well. So there's an interesting policy that's wrapped up here. This is a bill that's being pushed by COSA, and it's going to get a lot of debate. Yeah,
it's great. Balcony solar is awesome.
Yeah, and I think that part is pretty clear sailing. I think the net metering, meter collar, how does it affect any utility, load serving entity, ability to manage their system, and so that's where the debate's going to center.
And safety issues too.
Potential safety issues. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Another one was about politics, legislature, and wildfire. Wildfire liability relief did not pass, but it raised the profile. Is this the insurance project you were working on?
Yeah, I mean that bill had several different drafts since late last year. There was a bill that was submitted to the interim committee. It did not make it out of the interim committee. There was a huge amount of pushback from the trial lawyers and the property casualty insurers. That debate will continue. The bill that CREA had proposed did not move forward.
So Rachel, one of the ways we at our CREA are addressing it is we're re-looking about how we're using our dollars, when people talk to people, those dollars are called lobbyists, thank you. And to that end, I would encourage each of you, and I'll send you some information about CARE. It's the fund that CREA uses. You can also donate to NRECA, you can do it within the same mechanism, but you can also say just CREA or just NRECA. And it really helps consolidate your dollars and what we're trying to do this year, especially with Chris's help, is use them more wisely. About does it make sense to do individuals, and if so, what individuals or parties, such as that. So I would encourage each of you now to join CARE and donate to CARE, and we'll go from there. You'll get something in the email from me too on that one. Any other questions about CREA report? Did I miss anything, Chris? From what you know, I know. Oh, sorry, Tim. Sorry, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't want to really dog this issue, but maybe somebody should explain what a meter collar is.
Yeah, Tim, that was what we were just talking about in the last section.
I just think for the members, what is a meter collar? Could somebody just give a quick explanation of that? We throw around these terms sometimes, and when you hear them, you go, what is that they're talking about? So.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I'll send this to everybody so you've got the reference. A meter collar, or sometimes referred to as a meter socket adapter, is a device installed between a utility electric meter and its socket to provide a direct connection point for solar storage or EV charging. And it bypasses the main panel. It's sort of a faster way to connect the device so that you don't have to pay for expensive panel upgrades. And I'll share a picture with everybody so you can see what it looks like.
So you don't need a leash or anything for it. But Chris, is there a position that the LPEA staff have on these? Is that aligned with CREA's or different, or what would you?
I would say our staff position is we're not particularly worried about these things. They're as long as they're UL listed, meaning they've passed all the insurance safety checks. We don't have a significant issue here. There are a couple of the co-ops that do not have that position. So this has been an active discussion within CREA.
And CREA is taking an amend status on it, trying to get a couple of amendments to specify compatibility of meter collars, requiring licensed electrician installations, and preserving co-op approval of device size, safety, and metering to protect grid reliability and worker safety. So again, CREA is at an amend status. They either have a oppose, support, or amend.
And if somebody wanted an LPEA service territory wanted to utilize one of those today, they could?
Yes.
Without going through some application process at LPEA? Or do they have to ask to do that?
So to modify to do any modification to the meter, they would need to have permission.
So they have to move the meter to put this on, and they would require permission to do that. Is that correct?
Yeah, they'd be directly affecting our equipment. And at this point, we haven't had any requests to do so.
All right. I just wanted to make sure we got that info out. Thank you, Chris.
You bet.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kirsten.
Yes, sir. I mean, on CREA, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kirsten. And now we are on to David Lucian in Western United.
Correct. And kind of fold this into WPPA, Fire Mitigation Western United. One of the Western United co-ops mentioned this, and it was also mentioned at the CREA Western United Electric Annual meeting. White River Electric Cooperative had a very bad fire that burned a lot of their transmission distribution to a total of $27 million approved reimbursement from FEMA. They have gone through all the documentation. It is actually sitting on the president's desk right now to sign. He's been having it on his desk for a very long time. As you know, there's a lot of things happening between the president and state of Colorado. And as a warning, wildfire, etc., if they can't get FEMA, it goes back to what we had pushed. And thank you guys, the board, for looking ahead in that we can get some emergency money off the signature of our CEO if we do have this type of thing where we do have a wildfire. We need to get external crews or external co-ops or external whatever to come in and help. We can pay for it. So again, 27 million. It's been approved by FEMA, sitting on the desk, and it's not good for the co-ops in Colorado. So just want to put it there. And then on the Western United, I put everything in did a little write-up. It had the inclusions. Any questions?
You did something about White River while you're at it?
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that happened with White River too is the crews were trying to get to protect the poles, and they were not allowed in by the fire folks. And the fire folks are all totally focused on structures, houses and such, and they were not allowing other folks in to try to protect poles. So they lost so much line. They lost a lot, and they're gonna be years in recovering on that one. And that doesn't get addressed, and I don't know what to think about that as far as, it's a communication thing, but I don't know if we can do anything about that at all.
Roundtable exercises could kind of.
Well, I mean, you're bringing up an issue though, that the federal guidelines for the federal fire protection agencies is to prioritize structures, not poles. And it played out just as you described. I saw video of how it played out. They have local fire protection watching a pole burn. I mean, it was that kind of frustration, and the Forest Service and BLM were like, nope, can't touch it.
And a pole's not a structure? Seems like a structure to me.
Yeah, but I'm saying that's the current federal regs, and we saw it play out in real time in Colorado.
Is there any recourse we have or anything that we can do to start a ball rolling?
I would call Jeff Hurd.
Yeah.
In all
Hey,
seriousness.
buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And is there any way that we could just have a MOU between us and the forest supervisor? Our San Juan forest supervisor?
And the local official couldn't go above the federal regs.
I just wonder if that's another path to getting the change, if you actually had a forest supervisor advocating for.
Oh, internally? Yeah, I think our best bet is our congressional representation, but it can't hurt.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for your report, Dave. I don't have any other questions.
All righty. Thank y'all.
Wait, but Brad does.
I just
Brad.
had, I just had a thought on fire mitigation, since it's been a hot topic up until today, but maybe something to think about is curtain burners. I don't know if you're all familiar with those, but I don't know if the EPA might be able to think about doing something with curtain burners for certain communities in our service area for people to put their slash in to burn. They do a great job. They burn really clean. They don't send out ash and sparks, and yet they get rid of a lot of slash. So I know the county that years ago, I had brought that to them too, and certain communities were going to buy their own. At that time, they were about 40 grand, but just something to think about to help with fire mitigation.
Okay. Thank you, Brad. Any other questions for the resolution? Okay, seeing none. Tri-State, we have 7 minutes.
Okay, my report as is, the only thing I wanted to highlight is the Tri-State had an issue with not paying their unemployment. They were filing it, but not paying it. It was all because of transitions between systems. So this is just a reminder that when we transition systems, whatever they are, that's why you do change management. And their Oracle thing was a really tough transition for them. This is the one of the things that's come up. It is material for them. They're having to report it to their the people who rate you for,
Ratings
but
agencies.
thank you. Thank you. So it's interesting. So just keep in mind, I think the board report that got attached here from Tri-State is actually better than my board report. So I would say, don't read mine, read theirs. There's nothing in here that that is like different than what I would have told you.
And so I assume this is the last month we'll be doing tri-state.
Marches.
Yeah, marches. Yeah. Okay, so any other questions before or some comments before we adjourn? Go ahead.
Just want to provide some encouragement to participate in the COP process. It was, I mean, John, you did a great job getting through a lot today. But you know, and I definitely understand there are things that we have to discuss in this room, and especially where there are concerns with what was actually modified or brought forward by the COP. There's opportunity for that within the COP process, but I know it always can't be done. So sometimes we have to do it here. But when we're bringing up things that weren't even redlined in the COP and we're bringing that into this room, to me, that just means that either COP didn't give us enough notice or they did and we didn't do our homework. So I think there's some real opportunity for expediting things if we can refocus on that procedure that I think has been effective in the past. Thanks.
Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, Ted, I appreciate your encouragement there. You know, what I find really difficult is, one, it doesn't fit my schedule, the schedule of that committee meeting, so it's difficult for me to attend. And the ability to, I mean, these are like 108 and 109, there are comments and dialogue back and forth that's noted in this document. And the difficulty in participating in that dialogue is high. And this is not a complaint about anyone. It's kind of what it is. Different people have different capabilities. And within the context of, you know, getting a PDF and trying to then comment back, it's time consuming and difficult. And the utilization of SharePoint or Google Docs and everything, there seems to be like this difficulty in everyone being on the same page. I think somehow if we had a better technology tool that we could all participate in those dialogues on a regular basis at our discretion before the board meeting, that would be really helpful, because at the moment that the process is difficult for me, and I'm fairly techno savvy, I think, and I just have a hard time doctoring PDFs. And when I've tried using the Google Doc, I've found that it was supposed to be on some other doc and vice versa. And even that, it's sometimes you can't see what other people are doing. It's a difficult process. It seems really messy. We're all trying to edit the same document. It's not easy. And I appreciate both your, John, and Nicole's stewardship of this process for quite some time now. And I'm very sympathetic, but anyway, I appreciate it. But if we could find a better tool, I think it would help a lot. Thanks.
As a former secretary, I definitely echo that there is a better process. That would be great.
I will not be running. Any of you are thinking about taking a run at it, this is you're wide open.
But you may be appointed if nobody else.
Well,
Okay, Rachel.
this is super fast, thanks to Dusty. Here,
No.
but for his presentation 101, member engagement.
It was great.
The Archuleta Republican Party meeting. I will be sending out follow-up with his learnings and highlights. And he's also got some feedback on how to improve the process. And there are 3 questions he's asked that I was that'll be in there if you could answer, so we can put them in our FAQs for next time. They're just things he didn't know how to answer. And then, yeah, get on out there. Talk to people.
Okay.
We've got 2 minutes. Just a reminder, our next meeting is the 25th of March, which is the 4th Wednesday virtual. And are we going to have any sort of little maybe celebration when we flip the switch?
Yes, please reserve the evening of the 31st of March.
Okay.
Darn.
Well, hopefully.
Safe journey home, everyone who's driving. Thank you.
Hey, any other comments? We have 1 minute to spare. Meeting adjourned.
Did it?
Good job.
Wow.